A single notebook was enough to cripple a crime family. And now, a gentle librarian has it. A cheating boyfriend, a car crash, and now the most lethal man in the city is on her trail. A surprise turns into a shock. Poppy arrives, heart full of hope, to her long-distance boyfriend Jewelry. But the door opens to a scene that shatters her world. Jewelry lost in an intimate embrace with his colleague Mimi. Her own gift, the scooter, becomes her getaway vehicle. Little does she know, this betrayal is just the first step into a much darker descent. Blinded by tears, her mind a whirlwind of hurt and rage, Poppy loses control. The bike swerves, sending her crashing into a roadside ditch in a heap of metal and pain. The impact unleashes a primal scream. She seizes her helmet and smashes it against the ground, a violent release for a shattered heart. But breakdowns are temporary. Reality comes knocking. Through red-rimmed eyes, she starts gathering her scattered, crucial steak pie research documents from the grass. This isn't an end. It's the first painful, messy step toward a fight she doesn't even know she's entering. Time jumped to the office purgatory. You thought the crash was bad? This is a slow burn. Poppy tries reaching Mr. Lamb, her project's last hope, only to be cut off by his secretary. Then comes word that Mr. Lamb might be leaving town. Meanwhile, office chatter about evening plans and sports games feels like nails on a chalkboard. 2 days of silence. Has he changed his mind? Is she not worth the risk? Surrounded by normalcy and a mountain of work, she's a pressure cooker with no release valve, simmering on a flame of sheer frustration. Cue the bombshell. A shockwave rips through the office. The elusive, cat-like author QB Noyoko has severed ties with his publisher over alleged plagiarism. And the publisher? Announced bankruptcy overnight. Assets divvied up by the staff. The air crackles with opportunism. Everyone's buzzing about the prestige of landing a name like that. But in her corner, Poppy looks on, the noise of faint hum. Is this a golden opportunity, or just a gilded cage of new trouble? Then a voice cuts through the chaos. Poppy's friend, Erden, slams her phone on the desk, eyes sharp with a hunter's gleam. Got him. Mr. Lam. Hotel Regal Palms, Greenhill Boulevard. The whole office freezes. With ruthless precision, Erden explains she tapped into her father's network, a PA to a corporate giant, and discovered Lamb's location isn't common knowledge. Not even his contacts know. The man trades in favors for secrets. And just like that, the real target comes back into focus. For Poppy, simmering despair evaporates, ignited into something far more potent, a last-ditch, dangerous hope. The game just changed. Just as Poppy was hitting rock bottom, the gears of fate were grinding into motion elsewhere, in a place you'd least expect. On the other side of the city, the man known as the Tiger of Fighter Street, Tora, was trying to savor a rare, quiet afternoon. But a desperate cry for help from an old comrade, Goliath, burned through his peace like a hot brand. Leave me alone, was his first thought. Yet, as he stared at the word help glowing on the screen, his mind flashed to a different, smaller figure crumbling in the grass. Damn it. In the end, he snatched his keys. The roar of his motorcycle ripped through the evening as he tore off towards the dangerous district called Moonbright. This fatal intersection was now set in motion, and neither could escape it. Back to the world of the bedraggled little editor, Poppy. Did she think that messy crash was the worst part of her day? Think again. The office delivered a series of knockout blows that ground her hope into dust. First, the frosty receptionist slammed the phone down on her. Then, news broke that the investor Mr. Lamb, the very man who could save her project, might be skipping town. The mood in the office plummeted, only for colleagues to drop another bomb. The famous novelist QB. Noyoko had severed ties, sending their publishing house into a tailspin. Poppy stared out the window, feeling her whole world collapse. But just as despair threatened to drown her, her friend Erden yanked her back to the surface with a single call. Girl, I did it. Through my dad's network, I found the hotel Mr. Lamb is hiding at. From rock bottom to a glimmer of hope, the emotional roller coaster was real. The chance was there, but what would you bring to the table? Poppy's mind kicked into overdrive. She became a deduction machine, analyzing the hotel map. Based on Mr. Lamb's predictable routines, that cozy, old-school restaurant near his hotel, opening in 50 minutes, was his only probable dinner spot. She laid out the plan, stunning her colleagues. Sherlock Holmes is among us. But Poppy knew this gamble was a long shot, potentially a complete bust. So what? Staring at her chaotic briefcase and the research files due tomorrow, she remembered her father's words. In life, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. Fine, let's do this then. Action. Her colleagues instantly became the support squad. As Poppy fumbled to pack her bag, her friend Erden stopped her dead. Stop. Right there. Then, with a flourish, she produced 2 shopping bags, grinning. Because what you need is this. A proper outfit to face an investor, a battle dress. From shock to gratitude, to how on earth did she have such nice clothes stashed away? Poppy was subjected to a lightning speed makeover. Meanwhile, Tora, racing towards the peril of a gang conflict, likely never imagined that the seemingly timid little editor was also prepping herself, stealing to dive head first into the heart of the maelstrom that involved him. 2 powerful streams of fate were now rushing towards a collision point. Final chapter of the plan, and here comes the most ironic twist. Poppy had a friend pretend to be Lamb's secretary, Audrey, and call the target restaurant to make a reservation, hoping to confirm his presence. The phone rings, and the host answers politely. "Good evening, the Parsley Place. How may I help you?" MS. Audrey coolly makes the request. And guess what? The host checks the system and replies, amused, "I'm sorry, but a reservation for a Ms. Audrey Claren already exists." Poppy's team was floored. What? Did a real secretary named Audrey already book a table for Mr. Lamb? Through sheer accident, their wild shot in the dark had somehow grazed the truth. A meticulously planned coincidence was now locked in. Tonight, at the Parsley Place restaurant, the dinner of fate is officially on the menu. But little did Poppy know, someone moved faster. Her phone buzzes, lighting up with 2 stark surveillance photos. Mr. Lamb and his aide, captured in a hotel hallway. The sender? Tora, that dangerous enforcer she thought she'd just done a casual favor for. Poppy stares dumbfounded. Did he actually take her request seriously? And he got this intel? Her colleagues are dying of curiosity, suspecting a PI. Poppy plays it cool, but inside, she's reeling. She reads the message, a flicker of satisfaction at his reliability. Then a genuine smile breaks through. But it's quickly followed by a wince at his blunt, clinical phrasing. A photo of the target, really? But the devil is in the details. Scrolling, Poppy finds a second, later message, delayed by her office's lousy signal. It's just a few words that send a chill down her spine. Don't go alone. Her head snaps up. She's already standing right outside the hotel, bathed in the deceptively warm glow of twilight, surrounded by the city's pulse. Her own heartbeat thunders in her ears. She's too late. She's already ignored his most crucial warning. A spike of pure, cold dread hits her. She thought she was making a move, but she might have just stepped onto the edge of a trap. As if on cue, Poppy watches from a distance as Mr. Lamb emerges, surrounded by his entourage, all smiles as they head to a sleek car. Her window is closing fast, and it gets worse. Look closer at the red-haired man beside Mr. Lamb. His smile is polished, but his eyes are sharp, scanning everyone and everything with quiet intensity. This is the real opposition Poppy is up against. Not a harmless assistant, but something far more calculating and dangerous. Trapped in observation, Poppy can only watch, her anxiety mounting. Should she make a move now? Or is it already too reckless? No time to hesitate. As Mr. Lamb's car pulls away, Poppy snaps out her panic. The hotel lead is dead. But Tora mentioned a restaurant. The restaurant. It's her only shot. She takes a deep breath, the last shred of doubt burning away in her eyes. There's no turning back. She flags down a taxi. The moment the door shuts, it's not just about catching a client anymore. It feels like willingly driving headfirst into the unknown judgment of a fate she's choosing for herself. Tora's car idles in the shadows of moonbright forest. His gaze sweeps the dark woods like a hawk, finally locking onto a tiny, distant figure, Poppy. But our heroine is far from graceful. She's unleashing a torrent of frustration on her broken-down motorbike, kicking the tire with every ounce of her pent-up anger and bad luck. Oblivious to the world, she has no idea she's being watched by a pair of predatory eyes from the darkness. While Poppy battles her motorcycle, Tora slips deeper into the woods, silent as a ghost. He stops by scattered paperwork, bends down, and picks up a single research note covered in Poppy's handwriting about her doomed project. His phone buzzes. Ronzo, his subordinate, warning that the big boss, Bald Human, is looking for him urgently. Tora's voice is ice. Still dealing with Goliath, he says before hanging up. Holding that note under the moonlight, his gaze sharpens. Goliath's disappearance, the notebook's secret, this woman. All the threads lead here. The pieces are falling into a terrifying puzzle. Fast forward to Poppy, staking out a hotel. She spots Mr. Lamb and his secretary entering, her heart pounding. This is the chance. Then, her phone buzzes. Tora, delayed by poor signal, 2 texts and accompanying photos finally arrive. The photos clearly show Mr. Lamb in the hotel corridors, but the message is a gut punch. He's already left. Don't go alone. It's like ice water down her spine. She's already here. Give up because of a late warning? Poppy grits her teeth. No, she has no road back. If the hotel is a dead end, she'll roll the dice and try the restaurant he might visit. When this woman is determined, nothing can stop her. Action time. Poppy flags a cab and gives the driver a destination that makes her pulse race. Aries Street. At first, it's fine. The chatty driver makes small talk, even speeds up a bit for her. But as the scenery darkens, replaced by neon-lit bars and clusters of unsavory-looking characters, the vibe shifts drastically. The driver grows visibly agitated, his words laced with unease. When they cross the invisible threshold into Aries Street proper, he slams on the brakes and lays it out plain. I have to let you off here, miss. Inside, the police have no jurisdiction. He absolutely refuses to go further. So here she is, Poppy, abandoned at the ominous entrance to the infamous Aries Street. The driver is ready to flee. But instead of panicking, Poppy does something desperate. She pulls out her prized possession, an expensive event ticket, and presses it into the driver's hand. Wait for me. 15 minutes. Just 15. If I'm not back, then call the police. The ticket is my collateral and my promise. The move is so audacious, it stuns the seasoned driver. Staring into her determined, borderline reckless eyes, he reluctantly agrees. Poppy takes a deep breath, turns, and walks alone into the glowing purple maw of the dark street. The urban dread has never felt more palpable. At the sight of Poppy's accident, another pair of cold eyes was scanning the scene. The Mafia enforcer Tora picked up a handwritten note on steak pie research among the scattered documents. The second girl he'd encountered tonight. The call was from the organization, summoning him back to see the boss, Mr. Baldhuman. But Tora coldly pushed back, citing only one reason. This was the last known location of Goliath, the missing family lieutenant. This was no coincidence. His contact provided a crucial lead. Goliath's disappearance likely revolved around a fatal notebook. Tora's gaze returned to the steak pie note. A girl, alone at night, researching street food? No, this felt more like a cover, a naive yet stubborn record of a violent scene. He followed the trail like a hound, his search quickly leading him to a public restroom. Faint, dark stains were visible around the frame. The smell of blood and cheap cleaner hit him instantly. Fast forward. Our Poppy, the poor editor recently betrayed and nearly killed, was now making an even more insane decision. Going alone to Aries Street, gang territory. The taxi drove deeper, the driver's smile vanishing. Miss, up ahead. Even the cops don't go there much. He slammed on the brakes, refusing to go further. Poppy offered her only valuables, tickets to a major game. Please, if I'm not back in an hour, keep these. Then, call the police. Her voice trembled. She pushed the door open and stepped into the moonlight-devouring darkness alone. Deep in Aries Street, the deathly silence was broken by low murmurs. Poppy hid behind crumbling brick, her heart hammering. She saw shadowy figures loitering and exchanging something at the alley's mouth. Was she spotted? She covered her mouth, barely breathing. At that moment of despair, frantic honking erupted behind her. The taxi driver. He'd come back. His face was paler than hers. Quick, they just left. Get in. Poppy scrambled into the car. Only when they were blocks away did she realize she was drenched in cold sweat. The shaken driver dropped Poppy at a relatively safe curb, urging her to call someone. Before leaving, this kind stranger looked at her and said, I don't know what you're looking for, miss, but you've got guts. Poppy thanked him with a wry smile, watching the taxi vanish into the night. Alone on the empty street, the glow of her phone lit her pale face. The night felt like a nightmare, but she might have grasped something she shouldn't have, a dangerous thread about the notebook, about Tora, about why she was pulled into this world. In the grimy public restroom of a train station, Poppy scrubs at her hands, the phantom stain of blood burning like a brand. An internal war rages. Call the police or dismiss it as some sick prank. The thought of the skepticism and blame she'd likely face over the phone snuffs out her last shred of courage. The cold water washes it all away, along with her resolve, and she disappears back into the city. Meanwhile, Tora, the hunter with senses like a tiger, has already tracked her scent to the train station. His gaze sweeps over the ticket booth, cold and calculating. A few probing questions yield a lead, and soon, a seemingly helpful female passenger becomes his next mark. Leaning in with feigned concern, he effortlessly extracts Poppy's destination, Nairn City, and that hastily scribbled fake phone number he gives in return. A hunter's most basic disguise. Fast forward to now, the dead of night, on Aries Street. Poppy cowers in a dark corner, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs, having just witnessed the eerie patrols and shadowy deals of this underworld. Every second is a suffocating stretch of terror. Just as fear threatens to consume her, familiar headlights tear through the darkness. The taxi driver who dropped her off has circled back. He pulls her from the alley's mouth, voice hoarse with urgency. Go. They just left. That moment of deliverance is laced with the total exhaustion of a narrow escape. Back in the sweat-soaked air of the gym, Tora's phone vibrates. At the news that Poppy might be on Aries Street, every ounce of adrenaline from his workout surges into pure, unadulterated rage. Stop. Stand down now. He roars into the receiver, veins bulging. But the next second, the call cuts off, leaving only the mocking hum of a deadline. The fury finds its outlet in a single, violent act. His phone is smashed to pieces against the floor with a sickening crack. When he finally catches his breath and manages to piece together a connection on the shattered device, a glaring chat log emerges from Quincy. It turns out the enigmatic young heir got to Poppy first. He personally intervened, extracted her from that den of wolves, and secured her in a safe place. Tora stares at the screen, his rage slowly chilling into a deeper, more profound sense of bewilderment and impotence. His desperate attempt at protection was, from the very beginning, just another move in a game controlled by a higher, unseen power. Poppy, just how deep in the center of this chessboard are you? Intel acquired. Immediate action. Tora instantly relayed the Naren City lead, along with a captured profile photo of Poppy's silhouette, to Ronzo, the tech specialist. Dig up everything on her. All of it. Now. The order was sharp, devoid of any warmth. Meanwhile, in another corner, the female passenger who had been gleeful about scoring a handsome guy's number was now fuming. Her phone displayed nothing but a useless string of digits and the initials TWB. The sting of being played erupted into a silent rage, a mere footnote in the dark, high-stakes game of pursuit. Cut back to the unsuspecting Poppy. On the platform, waiting for the last train home to Naren City, she sat alone on a bench, clutching her crucial research materials. But her mind was elsewhere. A page was missing. That single sheet, brimming with her father's own annotations, the very one she had been desperately searching for. Where did it go? Lost at the accident scene? Or, laden with this anxiety and a complex nostalgia for the past, the train whistle pulled her back to reality. She boarded the train, disappearing into the night, completely unaware that a pair of dangerous, yet conflicted eyes were now studying her fading silhouette through cold, digital files. The storm breaks, a fatal warning. In the middle of a punishing gym session, Tora's composure shatters with a single phone call. Poppy, on Aries Street. A den of violence and pure danger? I told you to stay away from her. Call off. Now. His roar into the phone is warped by fury and a panic he's never known, veins bulging on his temple. But the line goes dead, silence. The fear of losing control explodes into pure, destructive rage. The phone is slammed against the wall with a sickening crunch. Later, on the cracked screen of another device, he sees not an enemy, but a more chilling name, Quincy. The mysterious teacher himself intervened, pulling Poppy from the Aries Street mess and stashing her somewhere unknown. The entire board has been flipped, and Tora's world is spinning off its axis. And what is our heroine Poppy doing at this very moment? She's in the back of a speeding taxi, next to the injured boy Benjamin, stubbornly determined to take him to his so-called teacher. The air in the car is thick with tension. The driver shoots skeptical glances through the rearview mirror, pressing, "Are you sure you don't want to call the police?" Poppy bristles instantly, snapping back. Why the police? He needs a doctor, not an interrogation. Her voice is laced with nerves, a fierce protectiveness for this strange boy, and a single-minded, almost reckless determination. Gazing at the streetlights whizzing past, her inner monologue questions her own motives. Is this excessive kindness dredged up from memories of her late father? Or is it a desperate attempt to prove to that other man lost in the darkness that there's another way to live? Poppy sat alone on the cold station bench late at night, waiting for the last train home. Flipping through her painstakingly pieced-together research, a sinking feeling hit her. She was still missing a crucial page. As the backbound train pulled into the station, one of anxiety and strange calm began its journey. And who could have guessed the seemingly peaceful carriage would become Poppy's nightmare the next second? She had barely sat down, looked up, and every hair on her body stood on end. The dangerous man, Tora, was sitting right across from her. He nonchalantly moved closer, spinning a tragic story woven from thin air, his eyes gleaming with calculation. In the split second when Poppy's attention was hijacked by his lies, he struck. A paper airplane, swift as lightning, came flying at her. Poppy flinched violently, and a soft rip echoed. The tie of her top had completely snapped. Crushing shame instantly overwhelmed her reason. And to top it all off, the bastard leisurely pulled out his phone, aimed the camera right at her, a mocking smile playing on his lips. In that moment, Poppy truly understood the kind of trap she was in. Meanwhile, in a penthouse high above the city, the story's true string puller finally showed his face. Quincy Balthuman, the man who was both a novelist and the heir to a mafia syndicate, was engaged in a late-night, clandestine conversation with an associate. The topic? A crucial notebook, and the person who had piqued their considerable interest, Poppy herself. Their words were laced with implication. Poppy was clearly far more than just a random interloper now. Poppy is mortified and terrified to find Tora sharing the same train car with her. Her heart races as he approaches, her flight instinct screaming. How can she not escape him? Even here, the cruelty escalates. Tora weaves a tragic tale to distract her, then strikes. A simple paper plane thrown, a desperate dodge. The strap of her top snaps under the strain, and in a flash of humiliation, Tora's camera clicks. He doesn't just stalk, he captures her most vulnerable moment as a trophy. Mind reeling, Poppy is thrown a small, humiliating lifeline, Tora's own jacket, tossed to her. He offers this twisted cover even as he abandons the train at the stop, the doors sealing shut behind him. She's left shivering, clutching the jacket that reeks of her predator, utterly exposed. Tora tries to walk away with his usual cold swagger, but karma is waiting on the station stairs. He slips and lands flat on his back, an undignified, clumsy mess. Meanwhile, in the train, Poppy is huddled in his jacket, desperately explaining to a fellow passenger that a dangerous man was stalking her. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. Cut to Quincy's lavish apartment later, where a peaceful moment shatters. Benjamin suddenly convulses, coughing up a terrifying amount of blood before collapsing unconscious. The air freezes. Quincy, the always-in-control mafia scion, is gripped by panic and helplessness. Poppy, hardened by her own trials, becomes the voice of reason, coolly identifying the man with glasses as a doctor and imploring him to help. Poor Poppy was absolutely terrified. As soon as the train door shut, she clung to the coat Tora threw at her like a life raft, trembling as she whispered to a fellow passenger about being stalked by a dangerous man who just got off at Rupert. She thought she was safe. Meanwhile, our legendary Tora from Fighter Street wasn't looking so legendary. In his haste to pursue her off the train, he took a spectacular, slippery tumble down the station steps. The tiger of Warrior Street? More like a wet cat. That fall must have stung, but the real sting was on his phone. Ronzo had already uploaded Poppy's photo into their system for a deep dive, casually calling her a cutie. That little nickname rubbed Tora the wrong way. He wasn't happy, but duty called. He got in his car and fell in line with the train carrying Poppy, a dark, parallel shadow speeding back towards Nairn City alongside her, back into the urban jungle of lies and violence they both called home. Shaken to her core, Poppy finally mustered the courage to walk into a police station. The air was cold and heavy, the ticking clock on the wall a mockery of her naivety. Her mind flashed back to 3 months ago, fresh off the bus in Nairn City. Her landlady's stern warning echoed, "Stay away from Airy Street, dear." Back then, it was just an old woman's worry. Now she understood. This gleaming metropolis had a dark, pulsing artery called Airy Street, and she had just stumbled right into its path. Fast forward to a life-or-death crisis. In Quincy's opulent yet cold apartment, the sickly boy Benjamin suddenly coughs up blood and collapses. Chaos erupts. The usually unflappable Quincy is panicking, but Poppy, the seemingly fragile book editor, finds a core of steel. Amidst the blood, she stays terrifyingly calm, immediately calling for the doctor on site to act. And then, crashing into this scene, Tora, the tiger, sensing danger from miles away, storms in. His only mission? Poppy's safety. Two formidable men, the mafia heir and his deadliest weapon, lock eyes in the blood-tinged air. The tension crackles. The immediate danger has passed, but the heavy conversation is just beginning. Poppy and Quincy sit on the sofa, the air thick with unspoken truths. Quincy genuinely thanks Poppy for saving Benjamin, praising her bravery, but then his tone shifts, bearing a darker fawn. He hints that he and his colleagues, the entire mafia world, might be the very reason Benjamin was teetering on death's edge. It's a confession and a warning rolled into one. As a drained Poppy prepares to leave, a familiar shadow falls across the door. Tora. He steps forward, his offer to drive her home, leaving no room for argument. Poppy looks at him. He looks back. That invisible thread between them pulls taut. Is it protectiveness? Or something else entirely? In the most dangerous soil, a seed of something more begins to sprout. Inside the oppressive police station, Poppy sought help for her ordeal. The cold air and tense atmosphere instantly triggered a memory from 3 months ago, when she first arrived in the glitzy city of Naren. Her landlord's solemn warning echoed, "Stay away from Airy Street. That place isn't for girls like you." That was her first glimpse of the dark veins pulsing beneath the city's glossy surface. She thought it was just a warning, not knowing she was already falling right into it. Before one wave of fear could recede, a new wave of oppression crashed down. In the dimly lit corridor leading to the inspector's office, a suspicious man with glazed eyes began following her, spewing obscenities and reaching out with unwanted touches. Poppy's heart leapt in her throat, her body turning cold. She felt like a lamb to the slaughter, with danger lurking closest in the very place meant to represent justice. Fortunately, the harsh beam of a police flashlight cut through the gloom, accompanied by a sharp reprimand that drove the man away. Shaken, she practically fled towards Inspector Lane's office, leaping forward in time to the aftermath of a temporarily averted crisis. In Quincy's opulent yet cold room, Poppy engaged with him in a conversation so honest it bordered on brutal. Quincy sincerely thanked and praised Poppy's bravery in saving Benjamin, calling her the bravest of us all. But then his tone shifted, his gaze turning complicated. "I, and perhaps my colleagues, may very well be part of the reason that boy was in danger." The words hung in the air like an icicle, piercing the bubble of superficial peace. He began to touch upon the dark world they both silently acknowledged. Just as Poppy was about to leave this suffocating room, Quincy let out a yawn. Then, a familiar and heart-stopping voice shattered the silence. "Oh, Tora, you're here." Poppy spun around, her heart skipping a beat. The man who had haunted the edges of her danger and dreams stood in the doorway. Quincy meaningfully took Tora's hand. "So you came to check on our guest? That's unlike you." But Tora's gaze bypassed his boss completely, locking firmly onto Poppy. A faint, inscrutable smile played on his lips as he spoke in a low, clear voice. "So what if I came to check on you?" Poppy instantly felt her eyes welling up. A torrent of complex emotions, fear, dependence, an unspeakable tether, crashed down upon her in that moment. Had he come for family task or for her? That fragile spark flickered dangerously once more, amidst the ruins of all their taboos. Even in the brightly lit police station corridor, a sinister atmosphere clung to the air. Poppy was on her way to see Inspector Lane when a man with haunted eyes began trailing her, muttering obscenities. A girl seeking protection almost became prey in the very halls of justice. Thankfully, the flash of a badge intervened, scattering this brief nightmare, but Poppy's heart had already sunk into a pit of cold dread. In Inspector Lane's office, Poppy presented what she thought was her strongest evidence, the jacket Tora left behind. With a final shred of hope, she pleaded for a DNA test, hoping to put a name to the ghost from the train. Reality slapped her hard. The 8 cold words, minor case, limited resources, dismissed her terror and harrowing experiences as bureaucracy. Her hope popped like a bubble. As Poppy left, her silhouette was etched with a new kind of helplessness. Time jumps forward. In the tense quiet of Quincy's apartment after the crisis, with Benjamin resting upstairs, Poppy and Quincy share a soul-bearing conversation. Quincy's genuine gratitude for her bravery is laced with a chilling confession. He and his colleagues might be the very reason the boy was in danger. Two people from opposite worlds skirt the edge of forbidden truths, the air thick with honesty and the weight of shared guilt. And then, a familiar presence materializes in the silence. Tora has arrived. His eyes bypass Quincy, locking onto Poppy. His first words are a command. "I'll drive you home." The reason is airtight. It's late, and taxis are non-existent near Airy Street. His tone brooks no argument, radiating an almost instinctive protectiveness. Quincy watches from the sidelines, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. "Don't worry, Poppy," he teases. He looks the part, but he's quite harmless to cute little females. The words sound like reassurance, but carry the weight of a double-edged warning. Poppy tries to refuse, but Tora's hand closes around hers with an unyielding grip. "Who said it would be a bother?" he counters, cutting off all escape routes. Quincy's laughter rings out, the perfect audience for this drama. In the end, Poppy yields, swept up by that domineering gentleness. She turns towards the door with a complicated smile. And Tora, the legendary tiger of Warrior Street, simply stands there, watching her go, his expression unreadably deep. A door closes, separating two worlds, yet tying them together with an invisible thread, driving her home through the night. Is this the start of protection, or the gateway to a far more dangerous vortex? What seemed like a routine car accident report just became the fuse for a full-blown mafia storm. Poppy barely left the police station before death came knocking. Detective Lane stumbled upon a bombshell in the files. This seemingly innocent editor was pictured in a classified report about mob boss Vincent Balthuman's birthday party. Meanwhile, across town, two masked fools charged into Goliath's hideout, thinking they'd snatched the mysterious notebook. Little did they know, what awaited them wasn't treasure, but the tiger lying in ambush. Tora took them down one after another. Now, it was time to find out whose hand was pulling the strings. A few nights later, Poppy's aimless city wandering was once again interrupted by danger. But this time, following the danger came the very figure she couldn't get out her mind. Tora materialized like a phantom, effortlessly dispatching the thugs bothering her. Under the streetlight, their eyes met again. His voice was gravelly, his tattooed arm spoke of violence. Yet in that moment, Poppy found him almost adorably clumsy. He even leaned in, carefully untangling her hood from her scarf. That fleeting gentleness was like a devastatingly sweet arrow for Poppy. When he vanished back into the night, all he left her with was a shattered heart and burning confusion. Was this man her angel, or the devil dragging her to hell? The plot, as always, took a wild turn. Late one night, Tora was driving Poppy home. An oppressive silence filled the car, broken only by the engine's growl. Then, out of nowhere, a screeching halt in the middle of nowhere. Poppy's heart nearly stopped. He's stopping? What does he want? Game over, it's over. Her mind raced through 100 murder scenarios in seconds. And the punchline? Tora simply turned, matter-of-factly stating, I'm hungry. Let's not wait until Saturday. We eat tonight. False alarm. From fearing for her life 1 second to being invited to dinner the next, Poppy could only stare at this terrorist and scream internally. Are you for real? Was all that drama just for a meal? The tense atmosphere did a complete 180. 1 second from the brink of death. The next they're on a late-night grocery run. Tora, the giant, pushed the cart with unsettling calm, as if he hadn't just given someone a heart attack. Meanwhile, Poppy, cheeks flushed, tried desperately to steady her racing heart, chanting to herself. He's just hungry, it's fine, Poppy, hold on. Just as they navigated the aisles, her phone rang. Misto Lam. No, Quincy. His voice, gentle yet firm, came through. He was back at the hotel and, more importantly, promised double the investment for her project. In that instant, all Poppy's fear, grief, and struggle dissolved into a flood of tears. Her project, her mission, everything she fought for, finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Under the warm supermarket lights, Poppy's world was illuminated by hope for the first time. She cradled her phone, crying like a child, but they were tears of joy. Beside her, Tora remained silent, just watching. Perhaps at this moment, the tiny flicker of light in his icy world grew a little brighter. The crisis seemed resolved. Her career had a lifeline. Even this dangerous man felt less terrifying. But was this truly the end? No, this was merely the fragile, fleeting calm before the storm. Mr. Lamb's double life, Quincy's enigmatic intentions, the unsolved secrets of the notebook, and the colossal dark family behind Tora. All these time bombs were still ticking. How long could Poppy's naivety protect this hard-won happiness? Everyday life in the convenience store shatters the moment that man appears. That towering figure with piercing yellow eyes freezes the air just by standing there. While the kid thinks he's cool, the dad's practically ready to bolt, dragging his son away from danger. Look at Tora's profile. That disdain is practically dripping from the screen. The man just wants to park illegally and buy some damn groceries. Why does everyone treat him like a monster? But there's one exception. Poppy completely bypasses that terrifying aura. She grabs the tiger by the arm as he tries to walk ahead, latching onto him from behind like a koala. Tora, let's go. That one hug yanks Tora right back into the mundane world of grocery shopping. Look at his face. Where's all his menace now? He's totally flustered by that one word, Tora, his eyes softening as he mutters something under his breath. The atmosphere shifts completely. They bicker like an actual couple. Poppy teases him about being embarrassed, only to get her cheek pinched in retaliation. Try playing that game with me again in 20 years, kid. Poppy yelps in pain. But look at Tora trying to hide his smirk. Cold-blooded enforcer? More like a boy who just pulled off a prank. He even starts teasing her back, asking if she's this excited just to cook for him. Poppy's comeback is killer. Nope, I'm cooking for myself. You're just tagging along. The push and pull, the sweetness, it's off the charts. The sweet, fluffy atmosphere is shattered by a single phone call. Look at Poppy's face. It's pure horror. Caller ID, Mr. Lamb. The key investor she risked everything, even mafia pursuit, to find. Is this the final rejection? The axe about to fall? Poppy's heart plummets straight to her feet. Her whole world feels like it's about to collapse. Plot twist. Mr. Lamb isn't angry. He's thanking her, and he's doubling his investment. Poppy is stunned. Tears well up instantly. She stammers, calling it luck, and mentions someone's help. And standing just a few feet away, browsing the shelves, is the very someone who helped her. The ruthless enforcer who should feel nothing. He watches as Poppy sobs with joy, reborn in this mundane supermarket aisle. Scratching the back of his neck, he falls silent. What's he thinking? Relief? Bitterness? Or the crystal clear understanding that she's finally grasped her ray of light, while he must return to the darkness he belongs to? The air in the restaurant crackles with the clinking of cutlery and the undercurrent of power. A few reckless mafia associates dare to challenge the tiger, accusing him of withholding information about the notebook. Their words barely hang in the air before the atmosphere at the table crystallizes. The next moment, the one who was just spewing bravado is pinned to the polished tabletop by Tora's single hand, unable even to whimper. Absolute, crushing force instantly turns all doubt into a tomb-like silence. This is the law of the underworld. Questions? They're answered with fists. As the echoes of this intimidation fade, Tora's phone rings. It's the young master, Quincy Balthuman. A cold new order is given. Infiltrate Golden Fish Publishing under the guise of an author, with the target being a new editor named Poppy. Meanwhile, across the city, Poppy stands before a mirror, practicing her smile and handshake over and over, nervously yet hopefully preparing for her first crucial meeting with the investor, Mr. Lamb. The gears of fate are beginning to lock into place. Under the harsh supermarket lights, Poppy forgets the world around her. She hangs up the phone, trembling with excitement, and turns to Tora beside her, her eyes shining brilliantly. I did it. We did it. She practically shouts, her pure joy instantly dispersing the earlier gloom. Over the phone, through her persistence, and even by protecting the other party from a dangerous altercation, she had secured a staggering promise from Mr. Lamb. A meeting and the investment amount doubled. Poppy covers her mouth, disbelief washing over her. Double. She looks at Tora, her eyes filled with incredulous gratitude. And Tora? The coal tiger, who just moments ago was sweating, thinking she might have been scared to tears by some old man, now looks at her glowing with success and has only one thought flashing through his mind. Crap, why is she so damn cute? In her euphoria, action always outpaces words. Calling out Tora's name, tears of joy welling in her eyes, Poppy takes a step, then another, picking up speed. She throws her arms around Tora from behind, clutching him tightly while he's still holding his drink, slightly stunned. Thank you so much, she murmurs, burying her face in his back, completely oblivious that her own drink, jostled by the sudden movement, has just squirted all over his neck. Tora freezes, his mind a whirlwind. Congratulations? Damn it. Why is she so adorable? By the time they finally stand at the door to Poppy's apartment, Tora just wants to rush in and wash the sticky juice out of his hair. Poppy, meanwhile, announces brightly, so this is my place. Danger, missions, the mafia, for this moment, they're all shoved into a corner by this clumsy, warm embrace. Stepping into Poppy's apartment is like entering a different universe for Tora. Warm light, bookshelves crammed full, unruly potted plants, and the city's twinkling nightscape outside the window. The air smells of home of stability. His gaze sweeps the room, lingering unconsciously on a vibrant abstract painting above the bookshelf. Why are you looking so close? Poppy asks, a bit shy. Tora pulls his eyes away, stiffly denying it's his work, claiming it's just something from a local artist he supports. But then Poppy looks down, her voice dropping to a near whisper, tinged with a hint of quiet pride. I painted it. This girl who jumps for joy in a supermarket over a business success, within her own small sanctuary, harbors a vibrant, tranquil world all her own. Tora looks at her, realizing for the first time that the person he's meant to investigate and protect is far more than just a target. This world of hers is something he has no part in, yet it draws him in. The cozy conversation continues, tinged with the small, awkward realities of life. Poppy runs her hand over the canvas and frowns. Oh no, I think it's getting moldy. Tora's heart jumps, worried for her prized painting. But Poppy laughs and points to the old easel. The easel. It was a gift from my grandma. Tora looks up, spotting suspicious mildew even on the ceiling, and suggests dryly that the place needs a dehumidifier. Poppy takes it in stride. No surprise. This building is ancient. They share a light-hearted joke about the life of mold. But this apartment's warmth, this everyday sweetness tinged with damp, is built upon an incredibly violent foundation. Just 2 days ago, in the smoky, sweat-stained gloom of a pool hall on Aries Street, Tora delivered a bloody warning. He used the most primitive, brutal violence to snuff out any notion from those who thought threatening the girl he's with was a viable strategy. Now, sitting here listening to Poppy talk about her grandmother's easel, his mind burns with a frantic urgency. Where's that damn notebook? That Pandora's box that could incinerate this entire scene of domestic bliss? This sweetness is nothing but a luxurious, fragile illusion, the calm before a violent storm. This is the other side of Tora, the legendary warrior of the underworld. In the restaurant, a colleague's questioning became a death sentence, but Tora didn't even flinch. Within moments, he made it brutally clear what absolute dominance means. Violence is his most fluent language. Then, young Master Quincy's call comes in, searing a singular name into his mission objective. Poppy, the new editor at Giant Goldfish Publishing. In a harsh cut, we see Poppy, in her innocent white world, nervously trying on outfits for her first big meeting with the investor, Mr. Lamb. She has no idea that a deadly blade named Infiltration is already aiming straight for her heart. The cruel irony. In her cozy studio, Poppy proudly presents her abstract painting. Tora frowns, feigning confusion, calling it a terrifying volcano. Poppy laughs and guides him to imagine a battlefield, a king, and horses within the swirls. Tora plays along clumsily, only to finish with a sly grin. So it represents nothing, right? The teasing banter, the intimate air. But who could imagine that just 2 days ago, in a pool hall on Aries Street, this same man delivered a warning 100 times more brutal than any painting to those who dared threaten the girl. Now, his desperate hunt for that damn notebook is all to protect the woman laughing in this very studio. Tora scoffs from the doorway. Art, I can barely hold a pen straight. Watching him leave, a confused Poppy mutters to herself. Then, it must just be the guitar. She thinks she's peeking into his soul. Little does she know the art of the street's legendary tiger is written in blood and knuckles. Some words had to be said. Poppy turns, insisting they must talk tonight. Tora deflects, mocking her for waddling and quacking like a duck. Poppy is furious. Is this an insult or a literary metaphor? Where's the terrifying enforcer from the pool hall? This is just a petulant child. Finally, Tora moves close from behind, his voice softening to ask if she needs help. Poppy stubbornly refuses, but then adds softly, no, not completely okay. See? She's already letting her guard down around him. But that damn tenderness hides a blood-soaked duty she can't even imagine. And here comes the cruelest parallel. In a warm apartment, they bicker like any normal couple. Poppy suggests some indie pop to relax. Tora smirks, calling it girly stuff. Poppy instantly snaps, defending her taste and warning him not to twirl her girly plant. Look at this. The mundane life she craves, with its petty squabbles and genuine flare-ups. And Tora? While playing along with this normalcy he's never truly known, his mind is racing. Where's the notebook? How to execute Quincy's orders? He must finish his dark work before Poppy's light illuminates him completely. This cozy dinner is stolen time, the final calm before a storm he himself will summon. Just moments ago, in the offices of Golden Carp Publishing, a carefully staged chance encounter unfolded. Tora, clad in a tailored suit, assumed the role of a debut author, his sole target being the petite editor named Poppy. Meanwhile, Poppy is nervously preparing for her first meeting with the crucial investor, Mr. Lamb. The gears of fate begin to turn with an audible click. The screen splits into two, a stark contrast of fire and ice. Above is the pool hall on Aries Street from 2 days ago, the air thick with cigarette smoke and menace. A gang member casually mentions wanting to take care of the girl by Tora's side. They thought it was a joke, unaware they had just provoked a slumbering predator. Cut to the lower half, a warm, sunlit kitchen. Poppy hums, washes dishes, planning to make sure that hungry man gets extra meat. Her smile is so sweet, blissfully unaware she's become the eye of the storm. Frantically searching the room, Tora wipes sweat from his brow, his anxiety burning like a lit fuse. Where the hell is that damn notebook? I have to find it before she does. His fist slams down on the table, his gaze a volatile mix of lethal intent and desperate protectiveness. Poppy, you have no idea that the man beside you is a warrior racing against time, fighting to pull you clear of this abyss. We rewind to Aries Street, 2 days earlier. Heard you're not into women, bro. The man sneers, cigarette dangling. He reveals his hand. Give us a name, and we'll take care of her for you. Van tools, ski masks, all arranged. Touching Poppy? Uttering those words was the biggest mistake of his life. Using Poppy as leverage against Tora? Wrong move. The next second, a pool cue whistles through the air, cracking against a man's skull. Say one more word, and I'll cut out your fucking tongue. Understand? Cold, terrifying threats spill amidst a spray of blood. Pleading and swearing come too late. Terrified silence falls over the pool hall, and in a corner, a whisper persists. Who was that girl he was talking about? The Tempest is already heading straight for the unsuspecting Poppy. 2 days ago, at a pool hall on Airy Street, trouble was brewing. Someone foolishly mentioned Poppy, talking about looking after the girl with Tora. That was like stepping on a tiger's tail. In the next instant, Tora transformed into a demon. These guys had no idea that the girl they were casually discussing was the one absolute taboo in the heart of this ruthless tiger. Covered in blood, Tora sat in the darkness, the vile words echoing in his ears. Take care of her. Have some fun with her. Over my dead body. Violence surged in his mind, but he clamped down on it. Losing control and dark fantasies wouldn't help. He needed to be cold, to find the one way to protect her. Under the dim light, this man with blood-stained hands knelt, making a silent vow to the teddy bear and the photo frame that symbolized her innocent world. That notebook was the key. Find it, and he could pull her completely out of the mire he was in, sever her connection to all this filth forever. His eyes held a resolve never seen before. Back to the present, after their dinner under the stars. Poppy somewhat clumsily offered the late-night snack she'd made, worried he wouldn't like it. Little did she know, not long before, this man had torn half a pool hall apart for her. Tora looked at her, a tangled mess of emotions inside him. The warmth of this simple home-cooked meal was softening a frozen corner of his heart. They stood side by side on the old balcony of her apartment, gazing at the glittering city lights. Poppy chattered excitedly about the amazing view and fresh air. But Tora's mind was miles away from that. He glanced at the balcony railing, the height, the old lock. For someone like him, the security here was laughably fragile, like tissue paper. He needed to show her that the peaceful life she believed in could be shattered in an instant. Back on the balcony after dinner, under a blanket of stars that should have set a romantic mood, Tora's eyes were scanning the perimeter of Poppy's building. This man, known on the streets as the Tiger of Valhalla, wasn't thinking about stargazing. His mind was calculating the security flaws. What sounded to Poppy like a casual remark about risk of a break-in was, for Tora, a cold assessment of a looming threat she was still blissfully unaware of. Tora gestured, his movements precise like those of a professional security auditor. 5 floors, 30 seconds to climb. The old railing? He'd make it work. The front door lock? A 10-second job. This wasn't a casual observation. It was a chilling demonstration. In the calmest voice, he was showing Poppy that her sanctuary, her home, was a flimsy paper box in the world he inhabited. It was his calmness that sent a true shiver down her spine. Seeing the confusion and apprehension dawn on Poppy's face, a wave of self-loathing crashed over Tora. What the hell was he doing? He meant to warn her about the dangers of his world, to scare her away. But as the words formed and he met her clear, slightly fearful gaze, a jarring truth hit him. The danger he was trying to point out was him. Or is it about me? For the first time, this man built on violence was paralyzed by the fear of being feared by someone he was starting to care for. Just as the tension threatened to shatter, Poppy did something extraordinary. With a shaky thumbs up, she forced a laugh through her fear. So you're a part-time locksmith and parkour instructor, right? It was so absurd, it broke the spell. Tora's stern expression melted into a genuine, soft smile. He played along, his voice dropping into a tone of unexpected warmth. Something like that. Then, in a move that defied his entire persona, he gently pulled her back from the railing, saying he was scared. This man, who scaled buildings for a living, was scared for her. When she teased him about it, his low whisper held a promise. Yeah, well, I'd at least catch you if you fell to the parking lot. In the dark, their hands found each other and held on. Witnessed by the stars, the night shifted irrevocably. Poppy's cheeks flushed as she looked at their joined hands, his, a weapon wielder's hand, now clasping hers with impossible gentleness. Why? Do you keep doing this? She asked, questioning his contradictory care. Tora didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her, at the quiet, ordinary starlight reflected in her eyes, a light he'd long forgotten. In that moment, in the heart of a man drowning in the underworld's filth, the hardest shell cracked. A sliver of light, the possibility of a different life, seeped through. This embrace wasn't physical. It was the first, fatal moment of gravity between two lonely stars in a desolate universe. After dinner, Poppy's apartment balcony transforms into their secret garden. Under a dazzling sea of stars, Tora, This man begins to inspect the balcony railings with utmost seriousness. He vaults over it with unsettling ease. The lock is like a toy in his hands. Poppy laughs, teasing him about his paranoia, but it's clear this isn't just a security check. It's his most delicate way of saying the danger around you is closer than you think. Even his warnings carry a kind of clumsy tenderness. Then, the atmosphere shifts, turning subtle and intimate. Poppy takes Tora's hand, teasing him about acting like he's never held a girl's hand before. And guess what? This living legend, forged in blood and violence, replies with dead seriousness. I really never have. In that moment, the air stills. He looks into Poppy's eyes, the moonlight tracing an unfamiliar softness in his profile. The man who is his family's cold weapon shows her a raw, unguarded side, shy and utterly real. But the irony is, his inner monologue immediately betrays him. In the trajectory of my life up to now, I never imagined I'd be standing here on this tiny balcony looking at this girl. This girl, the source of all the trouble kicked up by that notebook. The troublemaking, stubborn, perpetually disheveled Poppy. Yet she barged in anyway, with her radiant intelligence and curious eyes, crashing into the darkness of his predetermined life. The gears of fate began turning from that moment, spinning wildly out of control. And so, the god of war from the underworld asks a question that even he finds absurd. He tightens his grip on Poppy's hand, his voice low as a whisper. Does this feel strange? I wonder, what would it be like to see the world through her eyes? For the first time, Tora's inner world experiences a seismic shift. He yearns to touch that ordinary, bright, and humane world in Poppy's gaze. He wonders if someone like him could ever possess something called human warmth. Under the starlight, a killer's heart beats with a terrifying softness, a poignant elegy woven from intertwined threads of hope and despair. After the almost kiss moment on the rooftop, Tora's romantic momentum does a full 180, suddenly turning into a serious lecture about rising balcony burglaries. Poppy is left utterly bewildered, her mind struggling to keep up with this emotional whiplash. The impromptu safety briefing ends, and Tora immediately makes for the exit. Poppy can't let him go so easily, calling out, "Wait." Her head is spinning. Romance, crime prevention, and now a quick getaway. This man is a walking emotional roller coaster. His next move is even more shocking. He shows up at Poppy's apartment and demands a digital breakup, deleting a particular photo. The image deleted notification on her screen feels final, severing a delicate thread that had just begun to form. The deed is done, but Tora can't shake the feeling. Alone with his dinner, he stares at a rice ball, mentally adding fur to make it look like a tiger. His mind, however, is miles away. Why is she so quiet? The detachment he enforced is already crumbling from the inside. The next day, Poppy falls asleep on his couch, and in a sleepy haze, thanks him for a long-ago act of kindness. Those words, "Thank you for being so gentle," strike a nerve Tora didn't know he had, short-circuiting his usual cold resolve. His muttered, "You're welcome," is barely audible. The moment he leaves her old apartment building, a new, more obsessive need takes over. Round the clock, covert surveillance. Love and war. He seems to be mixing them both. A heartfelt goodbye, you think? More like the moment that set off a mental hurricane in Tora's head. Poppy's sincere gratitude for his long-ago kindness. "I remember how gentle you were," stuns the legendary tiger. This untouchable enforcer can barely manage a muted, "You're welcome." It's a scene so disarmingly intimate, you can't look away. But the second he leaves, the switch flips. Looking at Poppy's rundown, easily breached apartment building, the protector in him screams. Security level, non-existent. His internal monologue is pure frustration. Did she choose this place just because it's cheap? Plan B activates instantly. "My men will be stationed here," he decides. 24 juillet surveillance. The ultimate contradiction. Pulling away publicly while weaving a safety net in the shadows. With the safety net in place, Tora's gaze sharpens, shifting back to business. The cold glow of his phone illuminates his face as Ronzo sends the confirmed coordinates. Without hesitation, his fingers tap out the fateful order. "Get ready. We move tonight." See the divide? His world is split. One side holds the light he must protect. The other, the bloody tempest he's about to unleash. Cut back to Poppy, and the cozy mood shatters. Alone in her room, her heart is pounding. The warmth of her gratitude to Tora is instantly replaced by cold, churning fear. Her eyes are locked on her phone screen, where the source of her sleepless nights glows ominously. The Balt Human Organization. Each search result is a hammer blow to her fragile hope. Missing journalists, cryptic forums, all threads leading back to the same dark Leviathan. Then comes the gut-wrenching realization, the hellish choice. If she goes to the police, the first one caught in the crushing gears might be Tora himself, the man who got involved protecting her. To shield someone who could destroy him, she must stay silent. This moral vice is threatening to tear the gentle girl apart. In the quiet aftermath of her ordeal, Poppy's mind was anything but quiet. Scrolling through late-night alerts about missing journalists and web searches for the Balt Human Organization, each click felt like stepping on a landmine. Reporting it felt impossible. Would it light the fuse on that direct line to the lethal weapon she'd been given, dragging Tora down with the rest of the fallout? Her finger hovered over clear history. With that tap, she wasn't just deleting a search trail. She was deleting a lifeline. Thank goodness Mr. Lamb got away in time, she told herself, clinging to that sliver of justification. To protect one man, she was willingly backing herself into a corner of silence. Hunched in her darkened room, the reality was suffocating. She was choosing this. Not being forced, but actively choosing to walk another tightrope. Betrayal had been the last one. What was this? Complicity? Am I going to be put in a position where I'm forced to choose again? Her second meeting with Mr. Lamb was a revelation. In a cozy cafe, he spoke of his promise to his late wife, his voice heavy with a love that had survived death. And Poppy, for the first time, shared her own anchor, the guilt and stasis left by her father's death. I understand, she said, and meant it. It was a pact of the grieving. She vowed to help him fulfill his wife's final wish, a vow that was, for Poppy, the first true command she'd given herself in 6 years. Move forward. The once arrogant publisher Morrison lay on the gala floor like a sack of potatoes, scared into shock. But revenge? There was no triumph in it for Quincy. The mafia scion leaned against the cold wall of the underground parking garage, emptying his stomach's contents, then confessed to his tiger, Tora, standing beside him. The whole thing made him sick. Tora merely watched with detached eyes, offering the casual, cynical observation that men like Morrison, whose pride is publicly shattered, always double down on stupidity when they're wounded. You see the irony? A mob boss recoiling from violence, while his enforcer delivers a cold dose of brutal reality. Finally, Quincy laid his cards on the table. That fat pig Morrison had the audacity to plagiarize every single one of his unpublished manuscripts. This wasn't just a dispute. It was a writer's judgment on a thief, enforced not with a pen, but with the full weight of a shadow empire. Back in the sanctuary of her apartment, Poppy found no peace. The cold glow of her laptop screen illuminated her pale face. News about a missing investigative reporter flashed before her eyes. Almost against her will, her fingers typed Balt Human Organization into the search bar. The information that flooded the screen felt like a bucket of ice water dumped over her head. Go to the police? Hand it all over? That fleeting thought was instantly strangled by a far more terrifying image. Tora, the man with the collar tattoo, who'd warned her to stay away. If the police got involved, someone like him would be the first one dragged into the light, scrutinized, with consequences Poppy couldn't bear to imagine. Her cursor hovered over the browser's close button, trembling. On one side, the instinct for justice. On the other, the paralyzing fear of being the one to shove that dangerous yet tender man into an abyss. She slammed the laptop shut, drowning in a moral whirlpool. Was she really going to stay silent about everything she'd endured just to protect a mafia enforcer? The feeling of being forced into this choice tore open old wounds. In the sun-drenched cafe, the aroma of coffee seemed to hold the darkness at bay for a moment. Across from Poppy sat Mr. Lamb, a man who had lost his wife. They spoke of promises and of loved ones gone. When Poppy softly mentioned her own father's passing 6 years ago, a flicker of profound recognition passed through Mr. Lamb's eyes. Two souls reshaped by loss found understanding in that tiny booth. Mr. Lamb opened up more, sharing stories of his late wife and her legacy for the company. A grief so deep and a dedication so fierce that it resonated within Poppy. It made her think of her own unresolved guilt toward her father. Right then, looking at this grieving man, a decision solidified within her. She wasn't just here for a job. She gave Mr. Lamb her solemn promise. She would do everything in her power to help fulfill his wife's wish. This was more than a project. It was Poppy's starting line for making peace with her past and finally taking charge of her own life. In her heart, she finally whispered to her father, goodbye. The night deepens. On the street corner below Poppy's apartment building, a tall, dark figure leans against the wall, the tip of his cigarette a solitary ember in the dark. It's Tora. He takes a drag, speaking in low tones into his phone. A curious neighbor from an upper floor cracks a window to peek. Tora doesn't even bother to look up, just tosses a cold just passing by into the night, effectively shutting down the nosy inquiry. In the haze of smoke, his gaze seems to drift, almost imperceptibly, toward the lit window of Poppy's apartment. Just passing by? What kind of passerby lingers at this hour, in this spot, radiating such an aura of wary vigilance and a faint, barely their sense of attachment? He's like a nocturnal creature tethered here by an invisible leash, dangerous yet unwilling to leave. Meanwhile, back in Poppy's apartment, the atmosphere is anything but romantic. Her colleague Jacob storms in first thing in the morning, eyes wide behind his glasses, demanding, "Who was that guy in your apartment yesterday?" Poppy's heart lurches, but she puts on a flat face, muttering a dry good morning to you too. Her laptop screen still glows with that ridiculous email sent to Redbeard Man. Faced with Jacob's sharp retort, "I thought by friend, you meant a human friend," Poppy can only stammer that it's just a friend she owes a favor to. But her mind flashes to Mr. Lamb's tender tone when speaking of his wife Gina and his advice, find a man who adores his wife like Gina did. Looking at her own mess, Poppy almost wants to laugh bitterly. Jacob isn't buying it. When he catches a glimpse of the video call on Poppy's screen, featuring a devastatingly handsome, dark-haired man labeled Greek god, he completely loses it. "And not some freaking Greek god," he shrieks. A tiny footnote pops up. He really is a Greek god. The scene ends with a loud crash as Jacob presumably topples over in shock. See? Poppy's normal life, once touched by that man's shadow, is gone for good. The office gossip hits like a tidal wave. Jacob bursts in, immediately grilling Poppy about the mystery man in her apartment yesterday. Poppy's face turns beet red, still insisting he's just a friend she owes a favor to. But that obvious guilt tells another story. Jacob then drops the bomb. He thought Poppy had finally gotten laid with a Greek god no less. Poppy's reaction? Pure, unadulterated panic. The whole office is now officially infected with awkward, hilarious energy. Poppy tries the overactive red blood cells excuse, but Jacob's smirk shows he's not buying any of it. Beneath the teasing banter, reality looms. Colleague Gil delivers the bad news. All his key deals have fallen through due to fierce market competition. Watching his defeated expression, Poppy realizes the company's hopes now squarely rest on her shoulders, specifically her negotiation with Mr. Lamb. The joke's over. It's time for the heavy lifting. Just as Poppy's reeling from the gossip, the real bombshell drops. Jacob switches gears, delivering news that stops Poppy's heart. Mr. Lamb is considering offering them twice the investment amount they asked for. It's a game-changing twist straight out of a desperate situation. Poppy tries to maintain her composure, but the sheer excitement in her eyes is unmistakable. Jacob is already in motion, grabbing her to go seal this monumental deal. The pressure has just transformed into rocket fuel for the final push. The cafe presents a starkly different vibe. Poppy sits alone by the window, the proposal folder in her hands feeling heavier than ever. The office chaos is gone, replaced by the quiet anticipation of her meeting. Sunlight streams in, highlighting a subtle tension in her posture. She takes a breath. This is more than a job pitch. This is a conversation about promises between two people carrying the weight of loss. For her father, for herself, she cannot afford to miss this shot. This is it. Poppy pushes the meticulously prepared proposal across the table, her knuckles whitening. She's not selling a project. She's presenting a promise she's determined to honor. It's about her own unfinished business with her father's memory, and about the legacy of Mr. Lamb's late wife. This time, there's no flinching, no excuses. Her gaze is steady. In that moment, she makes a silent pact with herself to stop being haunted by guilt over her father and to start building a future she won't have to look back on with regret. That decision weighs more than any contract ever could. Just when everyone believed the mafia's tiger only spoke with his fists, Poppy found herself utterly undone by a simple rice ball he'd secretly made. It was the same kind of gesture her own father had used to comfort her as a child, crafted into sweet animal shapes, offered with the same gentle smile. A wave of warmth crashed over her. Had this seemingly ruthless man also once been saved by such a small act of kindness? The memory and reality collided, blurring the lines between grief for her father and the profound, clumsy tenderness she was now witnessing from Tora. That war memory led Poppy's thoughts down a different, winding path, a quiet, sun-drenched country road from her childhood. It felt like the very road she imagined when, as a little girl, she'd ask her father that endless, innocent question. What's the city like? The vast, open sky held no answers, just a sense of peace and infinite possibility. Could it ever have led anywhere like this? Could it ever have led to someone like Tora? Poppy's mind is flooded with fragmented childhood memories. The man's harsh shouts, her mother kneeling on the floor. These have become thorns she can't remove from her heart. She claims she's used to it, but this damn guilt and remorse gnaw at her day and night. A constant parasite. 6 years have passed, and people say time heals all wounds? What a lie. Especially now, faced with Mrs. Lamb's unfinished wish, that sheer panic of too late completely overwhelms her. The deepest pain is the utter helplessness she felt by her dying father's bedside. Late-stage cancer took him so fast. Young Poppy could do nothing but watch him fade each day. Her one thought back then wasn't grief. It was a vow to live a life he'd be proud of, to at least let him see it, even from heaven. Dad, wake up. That call was a goodbye she could never deliver, and the origin of all her driving obsessions. Look, this is classic Poppy's dilemma. On one side, there are all the milestones her father will never see: graduation, marriage, starting her own family. All his heavy expectations, all unfulfilled. On the other side, the real world with that man's aggressive shouting, denying her even a moment's breath to finish watching a show. All she wanted was to escape, kneeling, praying for a do-over. But when the ending came, and then he was gone. All that escape turned into a cruel joke. All that remained was an irreparable regret, tearing a gaping hole in her heart. Graduation day. The sun is blinding. Poppy holds her diploma scroll, her heart hollow. It should be a day for sharing joy, but there's only empty air beside her. Staring at the sky, it hits her then. Her father's cancer deteriorated so rapidly. She can't wait anymore, can't push anything to someday later. She has to do something. Now, immediately. Not for anyone else, but to live up to her father watching from above. This drive, born from a death countdown, is heartbreaking and desperate all at once. So you see, Poppy's promise to Mr. Lamb, "I will do everything within my power to fulfill Mrs. Lamb's last wish," wasn't some professional pleasantry. It was a desperate courage forged from all her leftover guilt and longing for her father. She knows she's a rookie, lacking experience and connections, but she'll throw all her boundless energy and enthusiasm at it. Her vow in the cafe echoes the one she made at her father's bedside. Completing this final work isn't just a job anymore. It's a delayed redemption, a desperate attempt to make peace across life and death. Old Man Lamb, the businessman with a lifetime of guilt towards his father, sits across from Poppy in the cafe. Her apology for being unprofessional cracks the shell of his composure. When she speaks of accepting any symbol of peace after last night, it breaks him. He asks for a moment away, his back turned, haunted by the life milestones, graduation, marriage, family, he never shared with his father. The dam finally breaks when Poppy gently tells him to let it out, that he's never truly alone. Emotions shatter. At the window, Mr. Lamb clutches his head, overwhelmed by memories of loss. Nearby, Poppy weeps her silent plea. "Please, wake up," echoing a pain she knows all too well. The final shot pulls back to reveal her alone at the cafe table, a silhouette of profound loneliness. Two shattered souls, drowning in parallel grief, unaware that the other's pain mirrors their own. Poppy sits in an empty room, confessing to a memory. "I am sorry, Dad. I know I wasn't the best daughter." But her mind floods with a sun-drenched childhood scene. High in a tree, her bespectacled father smiles warmly. A young Poppy in a sun hat clutches a small box. "But at least," she says, her voice thick with tears but trying to smile, "we had some fun times together, right?" Those lost summers are now the only warmth she has left. The flashback hits hard. A father uses a butterfly to cheer up a young Poppy. The memory that sticks most as an adult? His silly, adorable animal-shaped rice balls meant to lift her spirits. She always pretended to find them childish, but secretly loved them. Seeing a new, exquisitely crafted set of cat and fish rice balls now stuns her. And across from her, a dark-haired man with a probing gaze asks, "Did those cheer him up too?" The question lands like a blow to her heart. This is Poppy's true safe zone, not the concrete jungle of the city, but perched high in a tree with her father, overlooking a winding country road. Little Poppy, a tiny scout, points out a passing white van and suggests a tactical retreat. Her dad calmly explains their aerial advantage. Most people don't climb trees. They watch the unfamiliar vehicle, speculating about city kids on holiday, sharing a drink. Young Poppy sips, her gaze drifting, mumbling the city, as her father teases her for always asking questions. This idyllic peace is a world away from the mafia storm she's in now. Tora's white van drove away, carrying him and his inescapable dark past, leaving behind the world Poppy once knew. Between them lay more than just this winding road and dense forest. Look at Poppy's expression, a mix of shock and something softer. Tora's parting words clearly stirred something within her. Meanwhile, miles away, a freshly finished Tora sits down to a solitary meal, staring blankly at that tiger-striped rice ball, his quiet facade hiding a storm of thoughts. This dinner is the most bizarre twist in their entire dynamic. Tora, the lethal enforcer, to soothe a book editor, handmade panda and fish-shaped rice balls, and a tempted octopus. And Poppy's response? Staring at this cute yet dangerous meal, she blurts out, "It was you." And just like that, the cozy mood shatters. Tora actually wants to take a photo of this evidence to brag to his crime family friends. Poppy loses it, dropping to her knees to stop him. While she claims it's to spare him mockery, that hidden possessive thought is screaming, "This is for your eyes only." Tora ignites, unleashing a glimpse of the fury that earned him his tiger moniker. The air turns to ice. But then, one look at Poppy's frightened, hurt expression, and the beast freezes. Oh my God, he's actually stuttering an apology. He admits he lost control, a kind of personal turmoil he's only ever directed at himself until now. After Tora left, Poppy seemed like a different person overnight. Punctual, well-dressed, the flustered little editor had vanished. When Mr. Lamb presented her with his late wife's manuscript, she finally understood. Someone had been watching all along. The commission concerned a manuscript left untouched for half a lifetime. Mr. Lamb spoke of his wife's literary dreams, a talent crushed by her time and her family, his voice heavy with belated regret. As Poppy listened, her heart clenched. She saw more than a job. She saw a woman's buried dream. And the condition Mr. Lamb proposed was beyond Poppy's belief. He didn't just want her to complete the manuscript. He demanded she find the famous author who had refused to publish it all those years ago, a mysterious figure Mr. Lamb could only describe as prima donna trouble. The trail led straight back to the world Poppy had just fled. Poppy took on the impossible task, not for the challenge, but struck by a sense of shared purpose. Mr. Lamb's remorse, his wife's unfinished dream, echoed her own struggles. But she didn't know she was walking straight into the eye of the storm, towards the name Quincy Balthuman. The gears of fate turned once more, silent and inevitable. What Mr. Lamb handed her was more than a project. It was a ticket to the core of the secret, a blade set to sever her final ties to a normal life. Poppy took a deep breath, her gaze sharp and determined. The storm was here, and this time, she chose not to be swept away. Trying to brush Poppy off with a quick proposal needs review? Not that easy. Look at her reaction. No rush at all. She turns the tables instantly. The real target? That infamous Wild Valley before it's sealed for good. She's not just asking for permission. She's declaring her intent to investigate, and with proper security this time. It's a power move that flips the dynamic. That final hand on the phone, the cool, leave it to me, it's deceptively calm, but the authority in the room shifts completely. Even the onlookers can't help but whisper. The sheer presence of this woman is staggering. From boardroom power player to gracious dinner guest in a heartbeat. Poppy's smile is all sunshine and courtesy, but the gentleman across from her? He's a portrait of barely concealed worry and weariness. Then the scene shifts. A quiet garden path, Poppy all alone. Hey Dad, that single whisper says it all. She knows he'd want to stay by her side just a little longer. The loneliness of that solitary walk hits hard. Beneath the surface of a pleasant meal lies a deep, personal ocean of grief. This is the bittersweet core of growing up, swallowing the deepest longing and moving forward anyway. I'll keep going, because I know that's what you'd want. Will those high heels trip? Will she cry? Almost certainly. And I will always think of you. The path ahead is paved with memories of the bespectacled man and the little girl she once was. The final farewell isn't a goodbye. It's a liberation. So go and be free. She's transforming her guilt and love for her father into the raw courage to let go. Look at her little bunny, licking her wounds and forging her own armor. Whiplash. The scene shifts from tender to downright gothic noir. This oppressive, cage-like cityscape. Isn't this the brutal world Tora inhabits? A glowing butterfly flits ghost-like between buildings. Coincidence? Think again. This is their intel network. Hey, heard the news? Yeah, heard it. This isn't small talk. It's coded chatter from the underworld. The butterfly is a spectral messenger carrying secrets in the shadows. And that brief glimpse of a figure with a backpack at the alley's mouth? Instant chill. While Poppy bids her farewells, the storm is quietly gathering on Tora's side of the city. A grimy back alley. Don't look too closely at that stuff on the ground. Is that blood? Two low-level guys laugh it off as gossip, a waste of time. They have no idea they're standing on the edge of a volcano. The real danger is the watchful eye from above, the hooded figure surveying it all like a vulture. It'll be a thorough bloodbath. That chilling prophecy. He's talking about the impending all-out war between the crime families, isn't he? Even these street rats can smell the violence in the air. I'm satisfied to be a street rat in times like these. That's not contentment. It's desperate, clear-eyed survival. Poppy thinks she's left her troubles behind, but she has no clue that the entire underworld is primed to explode with vengeance. Poppy followed the trail all the way to a seaside suburban estate. Not a bad neighborhood. Trees quiet, seemingly peaceful. Her target was a modern multi-story building. Another car, a blue sedan, beat her there, idling by the entrance guardhouse. Inside, two figures were appreciating the serene middle-of-nowhere vibe. But then Poppy caught it, a sound that shouldn't be there. The mood shifted instantly. The camera cuts low to reveal a pair of brown boots stealthily touching down. Who's that? The guard himself pokes his head out, more confused than anyone. Who's there? Does someone even live here? Looks like the mysterious Mr. Lamb has secrets to spare. We cut to the uninvited guest. Night has fallen. He leans against a blue car, lighting a cigarette. Click. The flame briefly illuminates the side of a face hidden deep within a hoodie shadow. Not far away, just inside a lit window, are Poppy and Mr. Lamb. Poppy looks troubled. Lamb questions, his expression tight. Where is your wife? He immediately dismisses the thought, muttering to himself, no, it looks like. Meanwhile, the man outside takes a drag, his verdict cold and detached. Looks like some street punk. But his own thought betrays a rule. And he shouldn't be smoking here. Surveillance, contradictions, internal warnings. Who is this dangerous man patrolling the dark for? The heat is unbearable. Poppy sprawls on the cool wooden floor, idly flipping through Mrs. Lamb's copy of The Secret Garden. As she reads, a ridiculous number pops in her head. The insane fee that tiny giant goldfish company offered her. She's marveling at the absurdity when something on the page steals her breath. Her eyes go wide. Oh, a choked laugh escapes her. I can't believe Mrs. Lamb read the same kind of trashy romance novels I do. This discovery hits her like a bolt of lightning, cutting through the fog of her confusion. Maybe the mysterious late Mrs. Lamb wasn't so different from her after all. An irritated shout from the upstairs neighbor snaps Poppy back to reality. Wait a minute, Mrs. Lamb, she mumbles reflexively. Then it hits her. She slaps a hand to her forehead. The painting. I completely forgot. Damn it, she got so caught up in the novel mystery, she neglected the actual task. She rushes to check the canvas. Relief, it's mostly dry. There's still time for the final touches. Poppy takes a deep breath, looking out at the clear day. No more running. No more stalling. She picks up her brushes and palette, stepping out onto the sun-drenched balcony. Leave it to me. This time, she's determined to make those words true. She's completely lost in thoughts of him. Poor Poppy's mind is a whirlwind of Tora's perfect lips and sharp, gentle eyes. Try focusing on work. Not a chance when your brain is on a constant Tora loop. Panic mode activated. Lost in her artistic flow, Poppy completely blanked on Mr. Lamb's imminent flight deadline. Her farewell gift, painting, is almost done, but the actual mission's about to crash and burn. Is overnight shipping even an option? This isn't just painting a portrait, it's performing surgery on a memory. Poppy wants to erase Mr. Lamb's intimidating glare and brush in the tenderness she believes is there. But a nagging doubt whispers, is she just projecting? The moment that ringtone blares, her heart jumps in her throat. It's Tora, right now. As she answers, his simple, I'm outside, freezes her blood. Outside? As in, right outside? Speak of the devil, literally manifesting. Tora's leaning against a fence right below her apartment. Black hoodie, cigarette, radiating lethal vibes. When Poppy calls him out, he tries the casual, just handling things line. Yeah, and I'm sure his things involve paperwork. Tora, the street legend, does things his own way. Tell him the gate's open, and it better be open. But this time, he's playing by the rules. No need to hop the fence. Just his mere presence is enough to set off alarm bells for the guard and a nearby woman. This guy doesn't exactly scream good neighbor. A scream on the other end of the line is dismissed with a casual, just someone passing by. Look at him. Cool as a cucumber, phone to his ear, cigarette in hand. That closing "see you soon, sweetheart" is unnervingly soft. Who knows what's really going on behind that calm mask? The man and woman in the background are already on edge. Trouble walks right up. The guard spots Tora's cigarette and lays into him about the no smoking sign. But our man Tora acts like the guard isn't even there, completely unbothered. Through the smoke, he just tosses out a calm question. Trevor, right? Oh, the moment he speaks, the game changes. Panic sets in. The guard, Trevor, is sweating bullets. How does this stranger know his name? He tries to rationalize it. Maybe a resident mentioned him, but his body is screaming danger. And Tora? He just takes another drag, closing the distance with each step. The intimidation is palpable, even to us watching. The gloves are off. Tora grabs Trevor's wrist, laying down a bone-chilling ultimatum. Keep this area spotless. Not a single cigarette, or he's coming for him, his family, even his toy poodle. Watching the terrified man scramble away, there's not a flicker of emotion in Tora's eyes. For him, this is just another day on the job. Revenge comes without a sound. The hunters of the Black Swan never bother with their own hands. Tora's operative, Ronzo, set a trap that left this poor fool humiliated in public after convenient physical distress. And the real puppeteer just watches from the shadows as the mission accomplished pings on his phone before fading back into the coastal dusk. Poppy, this is just the tip of the underworld iceberg. But is this the tiger you imagined? A soul trapped in a steel cage, isolated and raw. He swears to the empty sky that he won't shed a tear, but the storm inside has already consumed him. That desperate please, let me out, isn't meant for anyone else. It's the silent scream Tora has locked in his bones. He wants the sun. He wants a normal walk on the beach, but the darkness he carries will never allow it. Fantasy and truth are separated by rusted steel bars. Above, the nightmare of abandonment and primal fear, a chill that goes straight to the marrow. Below, Tora sits in the sun, facing a motionless mask, but his golden eyes reflect nothing but his own past. You think he's cold? He knows the taste of being left in the dark better than anyone. The boy who was never chosen. How can he dare to choose anyone now? Until a voice as sharp as sunlight cleaves through his gloom. Son of a sweet biscuit. Tora's frustrated curse is a clumsy, weak jab aimed at his source of distraction, Poppy. Look at her mix of bashfulness and annoyance, probably thinking this guy's tantrums are as weird as he is. What she doesn't realize is the fact he's shedding the tiger mask to rage like an ordinary person. That in itself is a dangerous sign. Sea breeze, an easel, and an audience that won't step too close. Poppy doesn't turn, just softly asks, "Need an audience?" The question lands like a pebble in deep water. The painter in the sun, the watcher in the shadow. Two worlds colliding in a quiet so profound it's unnerving. Tora holds the painting silent. Does he need it, or is he terrified of being needed? This step he can't take, and he can't turn back. Who would have thought that the ruthless tiger of War God Street had such a soft domestic side? The chocolate caramel muffin Tora brought for Poppy has her eyes scrunched shut in pure bliss. She's practically trying to inhale the whole thing. One moment drowning in the heartbreak of her ex's betrayal. The next, utterly charmed by a muffin. Tora's brand of tenderness always hits when you least expect it. The scene shifts to dusk by the waterfront, all soft light and quiet. But this picnic is revealing more than just a beautiful view. From a forgotten hair clip to an awkwardly handled one with lipstick marks still on it. Every little detail feels loaded. Poppy's casual mention of catching the last bus home hangs in the air, while Tora just stands there, conflicted. He's used to commands and violence, but this delicate dance of daily life is throwing him for a loop. An opening. When Tora offers her a ride, Poppy can't believe her luck. But do you think she just needs a lift? Think again. That silly mistake on the canvas is her first carefully laid trap. The air freezes the moment Tora deadpans. I didn't want to take that picture of you. The hunted is now starting to bait the hunter. The mind games have officially begun. Poppy paints, but her words are sharp and relentless, probing like a detective, from questioning if the photo was an accident to declaring he couldn't have just been there. She's trying to crack the truth behind that icy exterior. And Tora? Nothing but silence and that final, flat no. This isn't an art lesson. It's two people using the past as a scalpel, cautiously trying to dissect one another's truths. Boom! The truth bomb drops, and it's devastatingly simple. All his cool explanations, following her, returning her notes, lead to this one raw, unfiltered confession. Poppy asked why he took the picture, and Tora, perhaps for the first time, drops all pretense. Because you looked cute. It's a direct hit to the heart. So brutally honest, it makes her freeze mid-brushstroke. The final thought says it all. This can't possibly end well, can it? In their twisted world, this moment of pure sincerity might just be the most dangerous thing of all. Poppy, completely clueless, thinks she's just here for a peaceful riverside sketching session. Little does she know, her world is already stained with the scent of a tiger. That glance over her shoulder isn't at the scenery. It's into the abyss of her fate. Tora, The legendary tiger is showing his most vulnerable scars to a comrade. He claims to be broken, incapable of feeling normal fear anymore. Yet, that statement is the ultimate terror. What kind of hell does a man have to walk through to consider sleeping without worry an impossible dream? Tora finally reveals the secret he's been guarding. Poppy's family reached out, and he chose silence. You're destroying me. This isn't a love confession. It's the agony of a blade twisting in his heart. He'd rather be hated and misunderstood just to preserve the last shred of normalcy for the woman who stumbled into his pitch-black world. The men's conversation ultimately circles back to one name: Poppy. Tora's flicker of idealism is mocked as a luxury a heavy-duty criminal can't afford. Meanwhile, at this very moment, Poppy is cradling an animal, utterly unaware of the surveillance drone hovering overhead. Tora coldly analyzes every possibility. If she has the item, she's dead. If she doesn't, she might still be dead. One slip up, and it's over. The tiger's one vulnerability has become the sharpest noose around her neck. Tora and a comrade are in a car late at night, the air thick with smoke and tension. They're talking about Goliath, the missing general. No sign of him on the streets. Nothing from the police, and dead silence from the rival gang. The calm is unnerving. The pressure is eating away at the guy in the passenger seat. He's smoking one cigarette after another. His partner tells him to calm down, but he snaps back. What other choice do we have? None. So, taking one last drag, he decides, we ask her. Whoever she is, it's a dangerous new path they have to take. The investigation digs deeper, but the findings are grim. Everyone in the target building checks out, on the surface. Then Tora points out the slacking security guard, Trevor, having affairs on the job, betraying his own wife. What secrets can a man like that even keep? Worse, they mention a kid who just got fired for quitting the cleaning service to deliver some stupid devices. The mood in the car turns frigid. Tora remembers Gyu's desperate question about a third way out. He had no answer then, only guilt now. Because what good is an apology? It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't stop the next firing. That helplessness hardens into a cold resolve. Today, he ends it all. A seaside balcony at dusk, but the mood is a tense interrogation. Poppy stands there, hands in pockets, her face screaming, I don't believe you. She stares at Tora, her eyes holding a fragile, desperate kind of hope. She's waiting for an explanation for the truth. And Tora? He's a statue, arms crossed. He knows any answer she wants is a million miles from his grim reality. The only truth he can offer is admitting the stolen photo was a mistake. I'm sorry, he says. That's all. This flimsy apology is the safest, cruelest boundary he can draw for her. He hopes it's enough. He knows it never will be. Poppy tries to lighten the mood, saying she accepts the apology and respects his privacy. But Tora isn't having it. His attempt at nonchalance only irritates her more. She calls him out. Oh, please, you were part of it too, Mr. Dimples. That catches him off guard. He fires back with a teasing smirk, asking if she has a problem with the most popular guy in school's Dimples. Poppy immediately flusters, stammering a denial, but Tora cuts her off with a drawn-out, suggestive The awkward tension suddenly crackles with something else, a flirtatious, unspoken challenge. The conversation finally turns to heavier truths. Poppy talks about life's unexplained mysteries, then drops it calmly. My father passed away. That kind of sudden, stark honesty hits Tora like a small, sharp stone. He finally understands her strange melancholy at the train station. He tries to deflect with self-deprecation, but the concern is real. They stand by the water in the fading light. Poppy looks at him and ends it with a fond, teasing jab. You're scary, but... Tora smiles back. For this one moment, there's no mafia, no hit lists, no lies. Just two scarred souls leaning on each other in the dusk, sharing a fragile, painfully real kind of warmth. The sun sets over the rooftop, a scene that could be romantic if not for the tension crackling between them. Poppy is trying to downplay the chocolate shoe incident that's been haunting her, while Tora listens, his calm facade masking a mind racing a mile a minute. He knows all too well. This seemingly innocent girl's every stumble might lead to a deadly secret. The air suddenly goes cold. Tora's question about the shoe cuts through the sunset like a blade. Poppy tries to deny it, but her eyes give her away. Maybe you shouldn't. Hangs between them, heavy and final. Tora's gaze isn't a threat. It's a grim prophecy. A hidden third way out? Not for her. Not in this world. Trust is a luxury they can't afford. Tora knows Poppy has every right to run. He prays she does. But if push came to shove, he bares his fangs. You'd see real blood. Yet Poppy sees through the act. I already know all I need to know, she softly counters. She's gambling that beneath this devil, lies an angel who refuses to hurt her. The mood shifts on a dime. Poppy, with her chaotic genius, cuts through the heaviness by teasing Tora as a top-tier gangster, and then she holds up her painting. A scene of ordinary love, a simple embrace. It's a balm of normalcy, obliterating the darkness they just spoke of. What do you think? She asks. In this moment, she's testing the borders of his grim world with the bravest, warmest colors she has. And here's the masterstroke. Tora doesn't answer with words. Instead, a tissue appears, gently dabbing a smudge from her cheek. Poppy turns crimson, stammering her thanks. Tora just watches her, this flustered, paint-smeared girl under the twilight sky, and murmurs one word in Portuguese: beautiful. The legendary gangland tiger, on a rooftop, performing his gentlest mission yet, wiping a smudge from her face. Poppy's face says it all: shock, tension, and that green droplet on her forehead. She's definitely stumbled into more trouble. The balcony at sunset should be a romantic escape, but Tora's mind is far from a date. As he watches this unsuspecting girl, his thoughts race. She has no idea about the notebook. And Poppy? She's equally convinced Tora is innocent of it all, her blush burning with confusion. The riverbank talk just hit a wall. First, Poppy's stunned Tora would offer to go all the way to the airport. Then it hits her, his rules. Cue instant regret and facepalm. Fuming with embarrassment, she snaps. Okay, what do you want now, you borderline? Tora's casual reply. More food. Talk about a mood whiplash. The lakeside standoff just exploded. Poppy's reach her limit, shouting. You think being handsome gets you a free pass for everything? Tora? Cold as ice. Seems right. Hurry up before I change my mind. Right here. Poppy's left seething, caught between rage and something deeper. Tora's steely front crumbles for a moment, his clenched fists betraying a silent war within. But the powder keg of emotions finally detonated. Rules, the syndicate, reality, all forgotten. Bathed in the fiery sunset, Tora finally gives in. He pulls Poppy close and kisses her, a surrender to the inevitable. A single thought echoes. Maybe I can postpone the inevitable for one more night. Let the forbidden desire consume them. Just for today. Same night, outside the Black Swan. Poppy stands there in her everyday clothes, drowning in a sea of glamorous couples. The feeling of being totally, painfully out of place is suffocating. Inside, it's a different universe. Tora's in a sharp suit, meeting an old acquaintance, Gu. Their conversation in the dressing room is heavy with ghosts of the past. Tora's probing about Poppy, his words laced with a stark warning. Stop digging. It gets you killed. He offers a cold, belated apology for past wounds. But can anything in their world truly be over? The weight of history hangs in the air. This feels less like a dinner date and more like walking into a wake. Poppy finally spots the secret entrance to the underground izakaya Black Swan, tucked away in a back alley. Under the shadow of a faux cherry blossom tree, she takes a deep breath and steps inside. Tora appears just moments later, a silent shadow meeting her at the bar. The air between them is colder than chilled sake. Behind the counter, the bar owner Alice watches this unexpected pair with an unreadable expression. You could cut this awkward tension with a knife. The dinner starts, and whoa, plot twist. Poppy, low on cash, tries to fake a diet, only to get mercilessly called out by Tora. My treat. He even gets visibly annoyed by an ex's tasteless joke thrown her way. Hello, protective much? Then, in a move that defies all logic, Poppy reaches out and gently touches Tora's face. She tells him she doesn't care what anyone else thinks. That one touch just short-circuited the legendary tiger of Warlord Street. Stunned, he finally asks for her real name. They break the ice with a ridiculous name-play game, from Poppy to Poopy to Bobby. The walls come crashing down. Tora, in a rare moment of vulnerability, confesses his life was never his own, adopted into a syndicate. Poppy shares her father's wisdom. Use your head, not your fists. She asks this lethal man for help. After a heavy pause, Tora drops the bomb that leaves everyone speechless. You want my help? Fine. Sleep with me. Picture Poppy, flustered and venting to her bestie. She's kicking herself for complimenting Tora's voice and making everything more awkward. And to top it off, she's terrified about that photo snapped of her on the subway. Her friend starts with a classic, I told you so, but then gets serious, warning her about the Pandora's box of online privacy. Swallowing her fear, Poppy hides in a stairwell and sends that first, fateful text. Almost instantly, a reply pings back. A dinner invitation at Black Swan, 4:10 p.m. The countdown starts now. Meanwhile, outside Black Swan, Poppy feels completely out of her depth, surrounded by elegant couples while she's just, well, Poppy. Little does she know, inside, Tora has already shed his usual exterior, slipping into something more formal. In a back room, he's deep in a tense conversation with Gyu, an old acquaintance. It's all about past mistakes, faded tattoos, and grim warnings to stay away from Poppy and whatever secret she's gotten tangled in. Tora offers a quiet apology for old wounds, but the bitter truth hangs in the air. The past is gone, and some doors can never be reopened. Tora takes Poppy to a tiny, claustrophobic private room. It's so low that in one disastrous moment, Poppy's head accidentally sends Tora's ever-present hat flying, revealing, well, let's just say his hairstyle is an absolute war zone. The mood shifts from awkward to tense when Tora explodes at a change in the menu, only to slam his own head into the ceiling. Now Poppy's trying to be helpful and check the damage, insisting he take the hat off. What follows is a surprisingly physical and undeniably charged tug-of-war over a hat, with the inn's owner cackling outside the door. Dinner begins on a surprisingly easy note. Poppy tries to bluff her way out of ordering by claiming she's on a diet, only for Tora to see right through it. She mentions something her ex said, and his posture tightens. But when Poppy gently touches his cheek and says, "What other people think doesn't matter to me anymore," something shifts irrevocably inside him. He asks her name for the first time. Poppy, Poopy, Bobby, a silly, intimate game that bridges the gap between them. She shares her father's wisdom about fighting smart, not hard. He confesses his life was chosen for him by his family. It's a moment of raw, tender connection. And then, in the heavy silence that follows, Tora dumps a bombshell. His price for helping her is, sleep with me. Shock gives way to understanding. He's trying to push her away. And then he doubles down with a crude, vulgar comment straight out of the gutter. That's it. Poppy's had enough. She hauls off and punches him right in the face. It's a stunning, ridiculous moment that somehow shatters the last of the formalities between them. But the fragile peace shatters instantly when Poppy's phone lights up with a call. From Inspector Lane. Tora's eyes lock onto the screen, his focus razor-sharp and deadly serious. "You know the investigator?" he asks, the warmth gone from his voice. "The party's over. This is what you call emotional whiplash." Back in his car, Tora's on cloud nine, smirking to himself. So she really does think I'm handsome, but that smug satisfaction shatters the moment his phone buzzes. No sweet text from Poppy, just Vincent's chilling order, "Come my office." Now, the sweetness vanishes, replaced by pure dread. See this? Danger always strikes when you let your guard down. No sooner does he savor the warmth of Poppy's potential affection than his phone screen chills him to the bone. Vincent's urgent text drips with command and urgency. What does it mean? It means the brief moment of peace is over. The world of family and darkness claims him once more, and Tora's eyes instantly go steel cold. Jump cut to pure suffocation. This isn't a motel. It's a glimpse into the other half of Tora's world, a dingy, crude safe house. The only light flickers from the TV, broadcasting breaking news. 4 high-ranking members of a rival syndicate were hit by a highly professional sniper hours ago. Police call a warning in their gang war. But look at Tora's grim expression. Does this work have his name written all over it? The family's revenge has begun. Ground zero of the storm. Tora is still trying to calmly report to an informant, but Vincent's furious texts are drowning him out. "You idiot. Pick up." Meanwhile, the man in charge makes his grand entrance. The camera pans up from polished leather shoes to the cold, unforgiving face of Quincy Balthuman. His first question isn't a greeting. It's about the forbidden object, the notebook. The warning that follows is lethal. "Tora, if you're provoking me, now is a very bad time. See that?" The powder keg is primed. The tiger's luck may have finally run out. The moment Tora saw that officer talking to Poppy, the beast he had chained deep within him broke free. He stormed into the Black Swan bar, demolishing everything in his path like a madman. Tables? Smashed. Glasses? Shattered. It wasn't just destruction. It was self-harm, a furious dance of blood and anguish. The owner, Alice, scolded him while tending his wounds, her voice laced with pity, calling him more a stray cat lashing out than a fearsome enforcer. Meanwhile, across the city, Poppy's mind replayed a different Tora, the one who had protected her with his life. One burns with rage, the other is haunted by echoes of care. Both are drowning in the same consuming vortex. Each other. On a deserted highway, Tora pushed the accelerator to the floor, the car slicing through the night like a bullet. His mind was a broken record. Asterisk, just stick to the plan. Leaving her is the only protection she has. Asterisk in Poppy's quiet apartment, the silence was louder than any noise. Lying in bed, battling her own heart, she finally made a decisive, painful move. She sent the text, demanding to set a final date for their so-called transaction. a desperate attempt to forcibly end this dangerous, intoxicating game. But the moment the message delivered, a profound emptiness washed over her. In that cold quiet, she realized the truth. That man was never just some big, scary idiot. Locked away in a grim, dimly lit safe house, Tora watched the news unfold on a flickering screen. The report was explosive. High-ranking members of a rival crime syndicate taken down by a single sniper's expert shots in coordinated attacks. Not kills, messages, wounds designed to incapacitate and terrify. It was a high-level, professional-grade warning shot. Standing before a cracked bathroom mirror, Tora processed it with chilling clarity. This was a declaration of war from a precision-based player. Just as he pieced it together, his phone began to vibrate incessantly. Missed calls, furious texts, all from Vincent, the man who was both his father and his boss. The real storm had just arrived at his door. Inside an opulent, suffocating mansion, Vincent was in a rage that shook the gilded walls. He destroyed his favorite angel statue with furious, calculated blows, screaming at the man he calls son, demanding answers about the existence of a cursed notebook that's making him look like a fool. This notebook wasn't just a secret. It was a punchline to a joke played on him. And Tora? He stood by the doorway, a silent spectator to this theatrical paternal fury. Cigarette in hand, his face an unreadable mask. When asked directly if he'd found the notebook, his reply was a flat, simple lie. I said no. Every breath in that room was laced with deception and veiled threats. The destruction complete, Vincent's mask switched seamlessly. A charming, calculated smile replaced the fury as he invited Tora to sit. He showered him with twisted praise, claiming the son had more brains in a single cell than all his other men combined. That's why he kept him so close. It was a masterclass in manipulation, each word a silken leash. He even prodded at the old wound, the non-blood lineage, making every "of course I trust you" sound like a death sentence. Tora endured this grotesque intimacy from the plush sofa, his patience wearing thin. He cut through the verbal poison. Enough of this. Get to the point. What is the drug in that notebook? The real game, the deadly one, had finally begun. Inside the eye of the storm, Vincent's lavish office, the kingpin is at his breaking point. His restaurants bombed, his clubs trashed. The Nine Daggers had orchestrated a full-blown humiliation. He snarls at the report, calling it a vengeance for the missing Goliath. But the real kicker? He's starting to believe the legendary notebook was never real, just a decoy, a sick distraction plan by his rivals. The old fox realizes he's been played. With a glass of liquor in hand and a shattered sculpture at his feet, he turns to the shadowy figure in the room, Tora, and issues his only command. Names. Tora just sits there, a caged predator in a gilded room. Vincent feigns understanding, claiming he knows Tora despises repeating this kind of dirty work. But his true intent slithers out with the next sentence. Isn't that exactly why I chose you all those years ago? Tora doesn't argue. He simply lays down his final condition with cold precision. The list. No more than 5 names. The air goes frigid. Vincent observes his crafted weapon, the lethality radiating from him growing darker by the day. He curses inwardly, but a grim satisfaction follows. A monster, a brilliant one, is still his to wield. Watch Vincent flip the script like a true Oscar-worthy actor. On the phone, he's the concerned father, sweetly inviting Tora to dinner, reminiscing about the good old days. The elders are pleased, he coos. But cut to the real scene. Tora is huddled in a grimy, dripping basement corner, sweating bullets as he stares at those 2 heartwarming texts. Vincent's words are honey-coated poison, each sentence a silken noose tightening around Tora's neck. This isn't an invitation. It's a gentle reminder that he was born a weapon and escape was never an option. All the suppressed rage and humiliation erupts. Fuck you, Vincent. Tora's fist slams into the wall, sweat and anguish flying. He swings wildly, lashing out not at an enemy, but the cage that holds him, at the man who's puppeteered his entire life. But the fury fizzles. His fist stops midair. Look at the little strawberry charm dangling from his wrist, swaying weakly after the violence. That's Poppy, the only light in his darkness, the dream he's desperate to protect. He finally drops his head, tears mingling with sweat. The colder he acted accepting that kill list, the more his heart shatters now, staring at this tiny, fragile symbol. The whole house of cards is coming down. An absolutely seething Vincent loses it in his penthouse office, smashing a priceless sculpture to pieces. Why? The rival Nine Daggers are dismantling his empire piece by piece, and his right-hand man Goliath has vanished. He's convinced the legendary notebook everyone's chasing is just a distraction, a red herring meant to blindside him. This rage isn't just anger. It's something far more calculated and terrifying. The air turns to ice. After his explosion, Vincent's gaze lands on the silent, statuesque Tora. The calming down act begins. I trust you. Everyone is worried about you. But it's all thinly veiled pressure. Translation: you are my last and most lethal weapon. It's time for the blade to be unsheathed. No questions asked. Family vengeance? Tora isn't fooled. He knows this means diving headfirst back into the abyss of violence, becoming the cold-blooded weapon he hates. Vincent's family loyalty pitch is just a cover for a bloody purge. It's not a request, it's an order. Look at that slight tension in Tora's brow, a flicker of resistance. Is it the ghost of a conscience, or the faint echo of a normal life with Poppy that's about to be erased? Tora doesn't submit. He doesn't rebel. He negotiates. How many? Give me the list. No more than 5. This might be the most direct pushback he's ever given Vincent. What's he doing? Drawing a horrific line in the sand for his future? Or maybe trying to shield a particular innocent life from becoming collateral damage? It's a chilling compromise, the last gasp of a drowning conscience. Vincent smiles. There's the weapon he knows. He slams a list of names on the desk. Tora looks it over, and something in his eyes finally extinguishes. He's locked back into the role Vincent created, the dark and lethal sword. The man who protectively watched over Poppy, who shared quiet moments in the night, is gone, internally exiled by his own choice. Poppy's world of light just slipped permanently out of his reach. The calm before the storm shattered completely. Tora was summoned to Vincent's opulent office that felt more like an emperor's lair. The business provocations of the Nine Daggers, combined with the mysterious disappearance of General Goliath, had pushed the family leader into a full-blown rage. He pointed the finger of suspicion directly at the so-called notebook, convinced it was just a false lead to distract him. With seething anger having nowhere else to go, the expensive sculpture in the office became the most immediate casualty, smashed to pieces. After venting, he looked at the silent Tora as if admiring his sharpest weapon. After a thin veneer of consolation and promises, the true fangs were bared. Exact revenge for the family, by any means necessary. Faced with this crushing command, Tora had only one request in the end. The target list must not exceed 5 names. Vincent agreed on the surface, but inwardly smirked, for the man before him had always been his darkest, deadliest, ultimate weapon. Watching Tora eventually submit, Vincent smiled smugly. Like a victor, he hypocritically picked up his phone, sending placating texts to the tiger he'd just put chains on, even extending a faux intimate dinner invitation. But on the other side, alone in his dim room, Tora felt the entire world closing in on him. The family's orders, the bloody mission, and that girl far away who was like sunshine, yet doomed to be dragged into his darkness. Overwhelming pressure left him no escape. In the end, all that frustration exploded as his fist crashed into the wall. Pain and defeat were followed by boundless silence and loneliness. It was in this dead quiet that he picked up his phone with a hint of almost desperate longing and sent a message to Poppy. The phone screen lit up, a message from Tora. Poppy's anxious heart seemed to light up instantly. This man, usually as cold as an iceberg, had actually crafted a goofy, cute cartoon face using nuts. Looking at the clumsy design on the screen, Poppy couldn't help but laugh, feeling a warm glow in her heart. She immediately texted back with a touch of sweet threat. Want to take her on that drive? Fine, but you have to make one for her too. But an hour later, downstairs, the sweet atmosphere instantly froze. The familiar security booth was completely empty. Security guard Trevor resigned? This small change was like a drop of ink in clear water, quickly spreading a chill of unease through her. Something was off. Beneath the surface of her peaceful life, something seemed to have started shifting, quietly. The date location was a secret high ground overlooking the city, chosen by Tora. Poppy arrived, but she didn't come empty-handed. She pulled out a pink taser, commonly known as a self-defense tool, from her bag, deliberately wiggling it in front of Tora with a girl's gotta-be-prepared smile. This move completely flustered Tora, who was driving. He shot her, "Are you for real? Look," asking helplessly when she'd gotten that thing. Poppy defended herself with full confidence, saying ever since her encounter with that terrifying giant on Aries Street, she felt it was better to be safe than sorry, and she always made sure someone was nearby. Seeing the corners of Tora's mouth tighten, she mischievously poked at the taser, triggering a soft beep-beep of electricity, which made Tora completely lose his cool. "Hey, it'd be best if you didn't use that thing on me. For God's sake, I'm driving here." Poppy finally couldn't hold it in and asked the question that had been bothering her. Where was the carefully crafted, nut-smiley face she was promised? Why was the one Tora made for her all misshapen with weird stains? Did he just rush through it? Facing the interrogation, Tora just calmly ate his portion, teasingly saying, I wonder who made this. Looks like fine art to me anyway. His words nearly choked Poppy with frustration. But soon, as she followed his gaze into the distance, all her complaints vanished into thin air. Beneath a sky full of stars, the city lights spread out like a spilled treasure chest of diamonds, painting a breathtaking sea of radiance. It was beautiful, overwhelmingly so. At that moment, all awkwardness, petty grievances, and unease just melted away in a night breeze. Poppy sighed from the heart. Everything it took to get up here was totally worth it. Behind her, watching her silhouette, a flicker of emotion more complex than starlight passed through Tora's eyes. Poppy stared at her phone, barely holding back a laugh. Tora, the guy known as the Tiger of Warrior Street, had sent her a photo of a lopsided, goofy, smiley face pieced together with nuts and peanuts on a table. Who would have thought the most feared enforcer had this kind of aimless, adorable hobby on the side? Poppy feigned annoyance in her message, but couldn't help herself, quickly adding a condition. You want to see me? Only if you make one for me in person. An hour later, as Poppy headed downstairs for her date, a cold splash of reality hit her first. The security booth by the apartment entrance was empty. The familiar figure of Uncle Trevor was gone, replaced only by a stark, resigned notice. A nameless unease crawled up her spine. Even the last shreds of mundane security were crumbling these days. She stood alone in the empty lobby, the night wind feeling particularly sharp. The black sedan was parked right on time. Poppy opened the passenger door, still muttering about the missing guard, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. Was she insane, getting into a car with a mafia enforcer? But in the next instant, her attention was utterly captured. Tora sat casually in the driver's seat, one muscular leg propped up, the intricate dark tattoos snaking down it barely visible in the dim interior. In that moment, the word danger was suddenly rebranded with a thrilling, pulse-quickening new definition. Tora glanced over, his tone flat yet dropping a verbal candy bomb. Hey, feel like a midnight picnic. The car wound its way towards the hills, overlooking the city's edge. The last shreds of Poppy's caution dissolved completely in the face of Tora's offer. I'll show you my secret spot. Fidgeting with her pink taser, a mischievous impulse took over. She clicked it on with a snap, the blue-white arc crackling to life, and playfully jabbed it near Tora's arm. Scared? She asked, eyes sparkling. Tora merely glanced at the dancing electricity, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk touching his lips. Trading that for your favor? Deal. An electric current of a different kind, charged with unspoken tension, filled the confined space, far more potent than any taser. The wind at the hilltop tasted of freedom. They sat side by side on the edge of a derelict viewing platform, the sprawling starscape of the sleeping city spread beneath their feet. Poppy listened as Tora recounted, in his matter-of-fact tone, how he and his brothers used to escape here in a rattling van as teenagers, fleeing from adults, cops, and trouble, making this their whole world. In turn, she confessed to being the bookworm who was once afraid to go to the convenience store alone. Two diametrically opposed worlds, two life tracks that should never have crossed, overlapped briefly under this secret canopy of stars. Dangerous? Absolutely. But the flutter in her chest felt so real, so tangible, that she wanted to grasp this stolen moment, even if it was just for one night. Look, this is Poppy's destiny. Even knowing this man is a walking danger zone. When Tora pulls up in that flashy purple ride, her eyes can't help but drift to the intricate ink covering his thigh. Dangerous meets artistic. Who can resist that kind of contrast? Her mind is still waging an internal war, but that little deer in her heart, already knocked out cold with one glance. Tora's midnight elopement move is smooth. He whisked Poppy away to a secret lookout dubbed Queen's Peak, a place that commands the entire city. It's not just a view. It's like placing the world at your feet and saying, half of this night is yours. Poppy, the bookworm who used to get anxious about getting lost, is overwhelmed. She's tense, like a rabbit that strayed too far, but this tiger has no intention of letting her scurry back. With the mood set, the floodgates of memory swing open. Tora, rarely one to reminisce, talks about his teenage years hanging out here with his crew, doing the usual drinking, drugs, partying nonsense. Poppy is utterly shocked. Then he drops the bomb. Just kidding. Mostly we just skateboard and loitered. The whiplash almost knocks Poppy out. She even whips out her pink taser for a joke, peak chaotic energy. 1 second, it's gangland past. The next, it's check out my cute anti-creep device. The romantic tension is so thick you can smell it through the screen. Tora is hiding his face in embarrassment. Did he just share an even more mortifying childhood blackmail story? The legendary Tiger of War God Street, brought down by his own past? Poppy, with her huge heart, is patting him sympathetically, poor Quincy, while secretly melting at this unexpected vulnerability. That imposing gangster image in her mind just shattered with a crash, replaced entirely by sparkly-eyed thoughts of this big oaf is kinda adorable. And this final moment? Pure, unadulterated sugar overload. Poppy musters her courage and pokes at the thin veil between them. She tells Tora he makes her feel at ease. This man who climbed out of blood-soaked trenches is actually stunned by two simple words from an ordinary girl. He can't explain the feeling, but to Poppy, this man who accidentally grumbles in front of her, who gets defensive about his backside because of her teasing, is slowly shedding every last layer of armor. Under the starry sky, atop the secret Queen's Peak, two hearts abandoned by the world pressed together for the first time, clumsy, tentative, but undeniably connected. Remember the most dangerous tiger from God of War Street? Now, this apex predator brings his most prized catch to his personal sanctuary, Queen's Peak. Overlooking the entire city, this was where a young Tora once roamed as a king with his pack. As he points to the distant city lights, the usual sharpness in his gaze softens, for the first time sharing tales of his youth in a school uniform, wandering the streets. And Poppy? Gazing at the sprawling metropolis that once intimidated her, she admits she too was just a girl buried in books, lost and timid in the loud world. A street legend and a bookworm, worlds apart. Yet under the same starlit sky, they find each other's most vulnerable starting points. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Think that's the end? Oh, please. The night talks at Queen's Peak are just getting to the good part. When Poppy picks up a hair tie and starts clumsily, gently, braiding Tora's signature hair, the tiger retracts his claws. Allowing someone to touch his hair? That's a silent permission granted. As Poppy teases him about his gangster past, Tora's gaze drifts far away. He talks about the old crew, now all scattered, with only one left, Quincy. There's no pride in his tone, only the complicated weight of a fate that wouldn't let go. This isn't just a chat. It's someone slowly peeling back layer after layer of his own armor. Just as the mood dips in a melancholic memory, BM, the real bomb drops. Tora shifts the conversation, his all-seeing eyes locking onto Poppy. He delivers the gut punch. You keep yourself so busy just to stop thinking about that cheating ex of yours, huh? Boom. The smile freezes on Poppy's face. Every fortress she meticulously built to protect herself, shattered by one brutally direct sentence. All the pin-up hurt, the heartbreak, the self-doubt she's been burying. It all comes rushing to the surface, right in front of the last person she expected to see it. Her world cracks open, right there. Here it comes. The legendary Tiger of God of War Street steps up to teach a masterclass in emotional demolition. Wrapping her in his arms, his voice is calm, but carries the force to shatter all hesitation. Listen, in a bad, twisted relationship, nothing you perceive is correct. It's impossible. That's not your fault. He's not just comforting her, he's arming her. He's ripping apart every bit of self-blame she carried from that past, telling her she was a victim, not a failure. For a soul bruised by betrayal, this kind of raw, gentle understanding from the most dangerous of places is a redemption more potent than any sweet nothings. Under the stars, high above the world, a mafia enforcer's unconventional therapy session for a book editor concludes. Poppy buries her face in Tora's chest, letting silent tears soak his shirt. And that tiger, who strikes fear across the district, all his ferocity vanishes. Now he just holds her, creating a world where she is, for once, utterly safe. He's absorbing the pain she couldn't bear, and in doing so, clumsily mending a part of his own shattered past. The Mafia code is win or die. But tonight, on Queen's Peak, Tora teaches Poppy a different kind of strength for the weak. Forgive the version of yourself that was too fragile to fight back, but is now learning how to stand up again. Tora doesn't pull away. His gaze is distant as he admits his old crew is gone. Only Quincy remains in the life. It's not nostalgia in his tone, but a heavy, complicated ache for a past that shaped him into the weapon he is today. The conversation drifts to Poppy's ex. Even while recounting his betrayal, she blames herself. Tora turns to her. His eyes, usually capable of freezing blood, hold a warmth that is entirely new. You're not wrong. He cuts through her spiral. In a bad situation, it's impossible to judge clearly. His words are a surgeon's scalpel, cleanly severing the knot of doubt she's been carrying. And then, he draws her into an embrace. A solid, silent, and utterly foreign gesture for him. In his arms, Poppy finally lets go. The man who represents deadly danger has become her only solace. Here, at the edge of the city lights, two lonely souls embrace each other's scars for the first time. Under the starry night sky, perched on a high vantage point, something shifts. Poppy finds her hand reaching out to Tora's unruly black hair, a comb appearing from somewhere. She starts, slowly and clumsily, to braid it. It's a gesture far too intimate for a book editor to perform on the legendary tiger of the streets, yet in the quiet between them, it feels natural. She teases him about his delinquent past, prying gently at the history buried beneath his intimidating exterior. Tora lets her, an uncharacteristic submission. Tora's voice lowers, laced with a distant nostalgia that's foreign coming from him. He speaks of the past, of a group long since scattered to the wind. The only one who stayed in the end was Quincy. The name is uttered with a startling complexity, loyalty, perhaps conflict, maybe even regret. It's the bond only those who've lived outside the law can truly grasp. Poppy listens, her fingers weaving the braid with even more care, as if handling a fragile memory. Conversations turn like shooting stars across the night sky. The topic drifts, and Poppy finds herself spiraling back into old doubts. The lingering poison of Jewelry's betrayal, the endless questioning of her own judgment. But the person beside her now isn't a girlfriend, it's Tora. And instead of dismissal or coldness, he offers something she didn't expect. He looks at her with a clarity that cuts through her fragility. He tells her it wasn't her fault, that no one can think straight inside a bad relationship. The gentleness of this wisdom is startling, coming from a man whose life is shaped by violence and blood. She might have known the logic herself, but hearing it from Tora carries a different weight. It feels like validation from the darkest corner of the world. Proof that even someone like him sees the injustice. And then he offers a hug. It's awkward, stiff, clearly outside his comfort zone. Yet for Poppy, the city lights and stars fade into the background. In the arms of the legendary tiger, there's no aggression, only a clumsy, resolute protectiveness. Pressed against him, her heart, once torn by betrayal, finds a strange and quiet peace. Everything slows down. The feel of his hair is still on her fingertips, the steady thump of his heart against her ear competing with her own frantic rhythm. The absurdity hits her. The danger. She lives in the sunlight of books and words. He is made of night and shadow. Yet here on this rooftop, in this embrace, their scarred pasts and precarious futures momentarily evaporate. For this moment, there are no crime families, no investigations, no blood debts. Just wind, starlight, an embrace that allows them to shed every layer of pretense. They each see a flicker of light in the other's world, a light they've never known. But is this light a promise of hope or the prelude to a different kind of disaster? That no one can say. With the danger past, the tension between Tora and Poppy finally melts away. Leaning against a wall, a hint of a teasing smile plays on Tora's lips as he calls Poppy out. This seemingly meek editor has a fiery volcano brewing inside. Poppy fires back, tilting her head up to complain that his towering frame is blocking all the light. Their playful banter carries the easy, intimate relief of surviving a storm together. A chill wind makes Poppy shiver. The next second, she's enveloped in a world of warmth, held securely within the circle of Tora's arms. All his edges and sharpness seem to vanish as he folds her in, his voice hushed and vulnerable with a confession that lands deep in Poppy's heart. He's choosing not to hurt others anymore, for every violent blow feels like it shatters a piece of himself too. Poppy's birthday arrives, but she opts for the quietest celebration. Alone, she buys a tiny cake, lights the candles, and makes a silent wish in a room with only herself. Thoughts of her father and grandmother surface, but the expected phone calls don't ring through, leaving a faint echo of loneliness. Yet, her hand drifts to her pocket, feeling the phone inside, and she thinks of one person who might be close. Maybe this quiet moment is already the best gift she could ask for this year. Tora's sharp eyes catch Poppy's slight distress. The smile on her face is a little too bright, a little too perfect, and the suspicious glint in her eye betrays her panic. His gaze falls on the pink shopping bag she's trying to subtly hide. Alarm bells ring in Poppy's head. In a desperate, clumsy attempt to distract him, she blurts out the first absurd thing that comes to mind. "I wonder what you'd look like with pigtails." The diversion is so transparent, Poppy internally cringes. Back in her apartment, Poppy opens the comically labeled, "I'm sexy and I know it" gift box. Inside isn't anything expensive, but it steals her breath away, a simple lunchbox filled with home-cooked food. Tora's note is brief. "We ate most of it. There's a little left." On the quiet night street, Poppy cradles the still warm container, her heart overflowing. She whispers his name to the darkness, a soft secret. For someone who walks on the razor's edge, sharing what's left of the warmth might be the ultimate act of generosity he knows how to give. The man who saved her in the rain delivers the coldest news on her doorstep. Tora, standing in the glow of his car's headlights, declares his mission complete. A new project from the family, he says, the words heavy with finality. I can't come around anymore. Poppy's heart stutters, finally understanding the kind of projects Tora deals with, and that she's being forcibly ejected from his violent world. But the dangerous tiger doesn't walk away. He pins her with a searching look and asks the one question she's been dreading. Did you never once question it? Those muggers? The air turns sharp. All those convenient coincidences, his preternatural skills, the truth she'd subconsciously chosen to ignore now hangs between them, undeniable and cutting. No answer comes. The thunder of her own heartbeat drowns out the city around them. In the heavy quiet, Tora doesn't press. Instead, his gaze deepens, a raw, almost desperate intensity in his eyes. This moment meant for finality becomes their relationship's peak, a silent, searing imprint, a memory he seems determined to carry into whatever darkness awaits. Back in her empty apartment, Poppy sits on the floor, opening an old box of keepsakes. Whispering Tora, the dam breaks and tears finally fall. He painted himself as the villain, giving her every reason to hate him. But the truth is, she was never blind to the danger. Love and suspicion always coexisted. The real foolishness was choosing to believe in the fleeting softness she sometimes saw in his eyes. On that night of the gift, his last words linger. Consider it something to remember me by. Then, the purple car dissolves into the night, taking all possibilities with it. Poppy clutches the simple black hair tie she once lost, the one he inexplicably kept. Turns out, the tiger's only talisman was her. And now, to keep her safe, he severed that fragile thread himself. While Tora was finally letting his guard down, dropping the tough guy act, and driving Poppy home in the passenger seat, the gears of fate were grinding in a different part of the city. A couple of low-level Nine Daggers goons were squatting by the curb, chewing over street gossip about the brewing turf war. A low-level lieutenant named nKey stomped over to the curb, cigarette dangling from his lips, cursing. But he pulled up short. His stolen old Toyota was parked right there, in the most conspicuous spot on bald human turf. This was a new level of stupid. What kind of dumbass thief parks a hot car right on a rival family's doorstep? Fuming, he yanked the door open to drive it away and strip it. But his eyes landed on the passenger seat, and he froze. A neat stack of cash was waiting for him. Confused, he reached for it, only to find it resting on top of a thick pile of bills, receipts, all payment records. This wasn't a car theft for profit. Someone had used his vehicle as a delivery box, intentionally placing it right under Balthuman's nose. A chill shot down nKey's spine. This wasn't a simple robbery. This was a ticking time bomb being hand-delivered. The atmosphere in the car, however, couldn't have been more different. The enclosed space muffled the city's noise, leaving only the low rumble of the engine. Tora's profile shifted between light and shadow from the passing streetlights. Poppy couldn't help but steal glances at him. Who would have thought that the tiger, who struck fear into the entire underworld was, in this moment, just an ordinary driver, quietly taking a girl home through the night streets? For Poppy, this peaceful, almost luxurious moment felt like a dream. For Tora, it was a tantalizing mirage of a life he could never truly have. The car glided to a stop outside Poppy's apartment building. Tora didn't speak, just slightly turned his head. The streetlight outside cast a faint, golden halo around the edges of his irises, his expression a complicated tapestry impossible to fully read. Concern, hesitation, and a resolute determination that was about to be swallowed by darkness. He knew he had to return her to this normal world, far from the chaotic vortex that was now planting bombs in stolen cars. Good night. His voice was low, softer than the engine's hum. The car door opened, then closed. She stepped out. He watched her go. It felt like a silent handover ritual. The car's taillights as it drove away were quickly swallowed by the deep night. What he didn't know was that from the moment he decided to protect her, the coming citywide chaos had already locked onto the coordinates where both their lives intersected. Tora's car idles by the curb outside Poppy's place as night settles in. He hands a plain gift box through the window, his voice unervingly calm as he says he'll stay in the car a while longer. Poppy holds the lightweight box, a sinking premonition warning her this isn't just a gift. It feels like a full stop she dreads unfolding. Alone in her apartment under the warm lamplight, Poppy finally opens the box. No jewels or trinkets, just a simple black hair tie, slightly worn, and a note. Her eyes traced the writing. For you. It was my charm. Now it protects you. The words hit her like a physical blow, and the first tear falls before she can stop it. This isn't a gift. This is Tora, a tiger, both human, in his own clumsy and dangerous way, saying goodbye. The enforcer who moves through the underworld without flinching has left her the one object he kept close, a fragile token of tenderness from a man who doesn't own much else. Poppy sobs, her shoulders trembling as the reality crashes in. Outside, an engine roars to life and then fades into the distance. Poppy rushes to the window just in time to see the familiar taillights, two red points of light, shrinking until they vanish around the corner. He didn't look back. He left nothing behind, except for the hair tie and a note with words that now feel heavier than lead. Poppy sinks to the floor, the black hair tie clenched tightly in her fist. It was once his charm in a world of shadows. Now it's a wound in her heart that won't close. She knows it with absolute certainty. The dangerous, tender man who walked into her life is gone. And whatever brief, razor-edge spark existed between them is now sealed away, like a bell that tolls only at midnight. Meanwhile, down in the underbelly of Airy Street, forget bread. This bakery deals in something far darker. Under the sickly green light, a hooded figure completes a transaction. Good doing business with you. The handler grins, taking a small sack. And the payment? Not cash or contraband, but a cage full of sedated, limp rats. Even the supplier sounds confused. No idea what you need more knocked-out rats for. But hey, come back anytime. The figure doesn't answer, just presses the elevator button labeled Animals and Supplies, descending into a secret level stocked with cages and crates. Whatever game is being played here, the pieces are disturbingly small and furry. Back at Frank and Fran's famous sausages, the secret command post is in full swing. Tora, looking every bit the cold strategist, drops the latest order. I placed Gyu in her apartment complex. He'll handle the rest. Translation: Poppy just got herself a 24/7 shadow. Before anyone can process that, the shop's owner loses his temper, yelling upstairs, "Hey, kid, you finish your homework or not? Don't you have school tomorrow?" He follows it up with a roar of pure frustration. To hell with being that old lady's babysitter again. Clearly, managing Tora's clandestine operations involves a side of angry childcare. Just another day in the life of a mob bodyguard. Cut to a scene of pure, baffling dissonance. Remember Gyu? The bruiser Tora, just stationed as a lookout? Well, he's currently in a bubble bath. Not a metaphor. He's lounging in a tub, face covered in a bright white sheet mask, delicately pinching a lime while on the phone. Puffed. Weirdo, he scoffs at the person on the other end. That person? The flustered barista from a local cafe who just recited, "One iced coffee to go," into the phone for this very in-bath customer. The final shot is just the barista's utterly bewildered face, a single bead of sweat tracing his temple. The line between deadly underworld enforcer and self-care enthusiast has never been so beautifully, bizarrely blurred.